We are live. Chairman Northrop, the planning board can begin.
Thank you so very much. At this time, I'll ask everybody to please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Hey, Commissioners, Planning Board staff, ladies and gentlemen, as Chairwoman of the City of Paterson's Planning Board, I call this meeting of 5/17/21 to order. I hereby state that all the provisions of the State of New Jersey Public Meeting Law have been fully and completely met, that the notice of provisions required have been properly posted in the Planning Board office and with the City of Paterson clerk, that the public notice and advertisements have been published in the Herald News on 5/7/21 in accordance with the law, and that the copies of such notice and public advertisements are on file in the Planning Board office, as is also the agenda listing the applications to be taken up by the Planning Board at this meeting. The procedures tonight will be in accordance with the rules, regulations, and bylaws as heretofore determined by the Planning Board at its office in the municipal complex in the City of Paterson. Roll call, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairwoman Northrop?
Yes, here.
Vice Chairman Fisher?
Present.
Commissioner Ahmed?
Present.
Commissioner Brooks?
Here.
Commissioner Cleaves is absent. Commissioner Ceballos is absent. Commissioner Issa is absent. Councilman Kalik is absent. Commissioner Santana.
Present.
And Commissioner Udine is absent. Madam Chair, we have a quorum with 6.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think you called my name.
No, you know what, I was just about to say that. I think you missed Commissioner Figueroa.
Commissioner Figueroa, I'm sorry, Commissioner Figueroa.
Okay, I see her, so I know she's here.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, all right. So, notice pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act addressing effective coronavirus measures on the next public meeting. Consistent with the coronavirus-related restrictions of Executive Order Number 107, given on Saturday, March 21st, 2020, by Governor Philip D. Murphy, the Planning Board of the City of Paterson will not conduct in-person participation of the public at all future meetings until further notice. Public participation will be available by means of communication equipment pursuant to NJSA 10-4-8, commencing on April 15, 2020. Though there may potentially be a practical need for a limited number of administrative, technical, or other city personnel to be present in or near the City Council Chambers, 3rd floor, City Hall, 155 Market Street, Paterson, New Jersey, in-person participation of the public is prohibited. Nevertheless, for reasons of compliance with the said Executive Order Number 107, public participation will be available by calling 973-321-1579, and the meeting ID is 711-680-001, and I will repeat that later on in the meeting. Okay, on the date and time that the meeting is scheduled to commence. The public may also participate in the meeting by accessing the website of the City of Paterson, www.patersonnj.gov, and following the email link for the meeting, www.patersonnj.gov/planning board. This evening we have 2 applications on the agenda. We have Dingman's Dairy and we have Sandra Express Shipping. Dingman's Dairy, Mr. Mariconda, are you representing this applicant?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Alan Mariconda on behalf of Dingman Dairy LLC.
Okay, thank you. So, Dingman Dairy LLC, 191 Pennsylvania Avenue, Paterson, New Jersey. Property is located at 82-84 Maryland Avenue, Block 7202, Lot 5. On a vacant 6,000 square foot lot, the applicant proposes to construct a 1-story, 4,556 square foot storage building for trucks and equipment. I'm gonna ask everybody who's not speaking to please turn off the microphone so that the, court reporter can take the minutes, please, thank you. Okay, this building is to be used in conjunction with the owner's existing business on the southeast corner of Pennsylvania Avenue and Maryland Avenue. Variances are requested for lot area as 10,000 square feet is required and 6,000 square feet is proposed. Lot width as 100 feet is required and 40 feet is proposed. Rear yard setback as 30 feet is required and 2 feet is proposed. And side yard setback is either 0 feet or 10 feet is permitted, and the applicant proposes a 3-foot setback on either side of the building. This proposal is located in the MU Mixed Use District. It requires site plan approval and bulk variances. Mr. Deutsche, would you like to give us your review, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Property taxes are current. There are no sewer charges due on vacant land. Persons having a 10% or more ownership interest in Dingman's Paterson Realty LLC or Joe Velasco, providing an address of 191 Pennsylvania Avenue, Paterson, New Jersey. As indicated on the Topography Survey prepared by Rigg Associates and revised to July 2nd, 2019, the parcel is located on the southern side of Maryland Avenue, 310 feet east of the intersection of Pennsylvania Avenue and Maryland Avenue. The parcel is fronted at 40 feet on Maryland Avenue, a rear yard that measures 40 feet, and western and eastern side lot lines that measure 150 feet each. The parcel's total area is 6,000 square feet, or 0.13% of an acre. The topographic survey indicates that the lot is vacant of structures and that the partial remains of a macadam driveway is located on the northeast corner of the lot. There are 1.5-story residential structures located to the west and east of Lot 5. The applicant proposes to use this parcel in conjunction with his existing business that is located less than 200 feet to the west on the southeast corner of Maryland Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue. A 3-page plan submittal dated June 16, 2020 has been provided by Michael J. Romanek, architect. Drawing 1 of 3 indicates the zoning map, a copy of the survey, and the site location, tax map, and notes. Drawing 2 of 3 indicates the ground floor plan and the 4 proposed building elevations. The ground floor plan indicates that the building has a proposed width of 34 feet and a proposed length of 130 feet. The building is to be constructed of steel and a gross area of 4,420 square feet. Access into the building is to be obtained through a 20-foot wide overhead steel door with access to Maryland Avenue and 3 exterior passage doors, 1 located to the right of the overhead door in front and 2 located on the western side of the building. 7 exterior lights are to be attached to the building, 1 in the front of the building, 3 on the western side of the building, and 3 on the eastern side of the building. There are also 6 exterior cameras that are to be placed, 1 on the front of the building, 2 on the western side of the building, 1 on the eastern side of the building, and 1 on the rear of the building. The interior of the building indicates a concrete slab floor, a restroom, and 3 trash and recyclable bins. The front building elevation indicates a top building height of 30 feet, the 14-foot by 20-foot overhead door, the passage door, the security light, and the security camera. The rear building elevation indicates the security camera. The left side eastern elevation indicates 2 passage doors, 3 exterior lights, and 1 security camera. The right side western elevation indicates 3 exterior lights and 1 security camera. Drawing 3 of 3 contains the concrete sidewalk and pavement details, the zoning table, notes, and the site diagram. The site diagram indicates that the proposed building is to be placed 18 feet from the front property line, 3 feet from both side property lines, and 2 feet from the rear property line. The building is proposed to cover 74% of the lot. The applicant requests variance relief from the planning board for lot area as 10,000 square feet is required and 6,000 square feet is proposed. Lot width as 100 feet is required and 40 feet is proposed. Rear yard setback as 30 feet is required and 2 feet is proposed. And side yard setbacks is either 0 feet or 10 feet is permitted, and the applicant proposes a 3-foot setback on either side of the building. Additionally, a variance is requested for lot coverage, as a maximum 60% lot coverage is permitted and a lot coverage of 74% is proposed. This proposal is located in the MU mixed-use district. As the proposal is commercial, the B3 zoning requirements shall apply. No employees will be working at this location. Existing employees will be parking at the Dingman's Dairy Complex in close proximity to this location. The applicant proposes to use this facility for 24-hour daily storage. Drainage calculations are required to be prepared and provided prior to the plans being sent to the city engineer for review and approval. It shall be the responsibility of the applicant and/or the preparer of the plan to obtain a letter from the city engineer indicating that the plans have been satisfactorily reviewed prior to the plans. The proposal is located within the railway section of the city. Although the property is in a mixed-use zone which only permits residential construction by use variance, a fair amount of residential properties inhabit the area, including a multi-unit residential building located to the west of this proposal on Maryland Avenue. In conclusion, the applicant estimates that the total cost of this proposal is approximately $50,000. That is your staff review for this proposal, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. Mr. Maricondo?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, and Mr. Deutsche, we are ready to proceed. I will indicate by opening that this is an application that the applicant originally filed quite some time ago, about a year and a half ago, with a different design concept that involved storage on an open paved area with just fencing. And we realized we had dialogue with the neighborhood, and we realized that it was a better way to accomplish our goals. So you'll hear from Mr. Romanek regarding the structure of the building that we are proposing to accomplish our goals with regard to storage of trucks and equipment. I will open by saying that Digman Dairy is a very long established business, established over 60 years ago. It's located in the city of Paterson nearly 20 years and has been functioning successfully as a distributor of dairy products during the course of that time. The business, which as Mr. Deutsche alluded to, is located just in close proximity down the street at the corner, is functioning with many Paterson residents. It provides a great deal of Paterson employment, and we would continue to do so. The purpose of this application is solely to establish a convenient location for the storage of vehicles that relate to the business operation. And I think it's important to note, and our witness will be testifying later on behalf of Digman, will confirm that this site will basically not have in and out traffic after 5:30 when the normal business hours close. So that's our intention, to maintain this site in exactly the same method where we operate our daily business operations in the main facility. The storage, of course, will continue for the 24-hour period. So that's the nature of the storage facility, of course. But there will not be in and out traffic after regular business hours. I think that's very, very important. So what we did is we went back to the drawing board, so to speak. This application has not been before the planning board before. We went back to the concept and we drew it up where Mr. Romanek will be explaining to you how this building is designed to fit the area, fit the applicant's needs, and also be a good neighbor with respect to the mixed-use character of the area. As Mr. Deutsch accurately indicated, this is absolutely a permitted use in the MU zone, and we're asking the board to help us continue this permitted, established business serving the residents of Paterson in numerous ways. That being said, we'll be calling Mr. Romanek as our first witness.
Yeah, Mr. Maricondo, how many witnesses do you have this evening?
Just Mr. Romanek and the applicant.
All right, thank you. Call Mr. Romanek, please.
Yes, Madam Chairlady.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Say your full name for the record.
Yes, Michael Romanek. I have an office at 291 Brooks Avenue in Paterson, registered architect and licensed planner.
Can Mr. Romanek just state his credentials real quick? I know we've had him before us, just real quick.
Yes, my undergraduate work is in mathematics and engineering. I have a 4-year Master of Architecture degree from the Graduate School of Architecture and Planning at Columbia University.
That's good, we know. I just wanted to put it on the record, we're good. Okay, and I know you've been before us many, many times, so we accept him as an expert witness, thank you.
Just to confirm, Mr. Romanek, you're a licensed architect and planner, and you'll be testifying in both capacities, is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Romanek, you can proceed with the site plan which you designed, is that correct?
Yes, so permission to share, please. Yes. Be posting the drawing. Commissioners, you're looking at sheet number 1 of the drawings. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner the site location map. As you can see in the yellow area of the corner of Maryland Avenue in Pennsylvania, which actually runs through to Florida Avenue, it's the blockade. That's the current location of Dingman's Dairy, which occupies approximately 52,500 square feet, or that's over an acre of land. That's the current location. You can see also the notation, which is also on the south side of Maryland Avenue, going in a easterly direction. The subject property, as noted, that's 82 to 84 Maryland Avenue. That property is 6,000 square feet in lot area. It has a 40 feet of frontage. The depth is 150 feet in depth. I wanted the commissioners to see the proximity of the proposed lot in relation to the existing location where Dingman's is located. The property is located in the MU zone. If you look to the far left of sheet number 1, commissioners, you'll see the location of the subject property, which is in the MU zone. The mixed use zone is actually a mixed commercial and industrial zone. It's not a mixed residential and commercial zone. It's purely designed for commercial and industrial uses. Actually, it prohibits residential development in that particular zone, the MU zone. You also see the survey of the property, which is located on the left-hand portion of sheet number 1, commissioners. You'll see the frontage again has 40 feet along Maryland Avenue and a depth of 150 feet. The site is vacant. There are no sidewalks or curbing along the front of the property, very similar to the adjoining residential properties where, in fact, on both sides, they do not have curbing or sidewalks as well. That is the subject site itself. And as Mr. Mariconda indicated, the building would be used for the storage of vehicles in relation to the existing development that is on Pennsylvania and Maryland Avenue, that is Dingman's Dairy, and also for equipment that would also be stored in the subject building, which we'll be looking at soon. As Mr. Mariconda indicated as well, I guess approximately a year ago, the application had been before the board. It was never heard at that time, but it was for outdoor storage. And what we're proposing tonight in this application is a building. So the storage would be completely within an enclosed building. Certainly the use being allowed as opposed to the use not allowed when you have open storage. And that's why it was before the zoning board approximately a year ago. But as I indicated, it had never been heard. So we did make modifications in the form of actually designing a building that would house the vehicles and equipment for Dingman's Dairy. If we turn to sheet number 2, commissioners, you'll see the structure itself. Looking at the front elevation, which is in the upper right-hand corner of the sheet, you'll see that the width of the building is 34 feet. The height to the ridge of the structure is 30 feet. The zoning does allow a height of 3 stories and 40 feet. We're proposing 1 story only, and that would have a height to the ridge again of 30 feet. You can see the lower portion of the roof at the eave is 26 feet in height. So we certainly do comply with the bulk with regard to the height in the envelope of the structure itself. Looking also to the left, you'll see the right side elevation, which has 2 doorways leading from the structure. The orientation of that right side elevation looking to the far left, that's actually where Maryland Avenue is. And the left side elevation also is shown on that drawing. You can see on both sides we do have security cameras and lighting as well. The floor plan, commissioners, is on the lower section of that drawing. You'll see it labeled as ground floor. Again, the width of the building is 34 feet. The length is 130 feet, which represents 4,420 square feet in dimension and area. The lot is 6,000 square feet, as I indicated earlier. It's 40 by 150 feet. And again, looking at the orientation, you'll see to the far left of that floor plan is Maryland Avenue, which does show the overhead door. As you can also see in the front elevation, the door width is 20 feet by a height of 14 feet, which would accommodate the vehicles as well as the equipment that's going to be stored in the building itself. Commissioners, turning to sheet number 3, you'll see the actual location of the building on the site. That's the diagram to the far right. You'll see where Maryland Avenue is labeled. You'll see the width of the property again being 40 feet, the depth being 130 feet for a total again of 6,000 square foot lot area. The building is 4,420 square feet for a lot coverage of approximately 74%. We do have a front setback of 18 feet. That's all concrete. We are proposing a new sidewalk, of course. There is no sidewalk that exists now. There will be curbing that's also going to be installed, as well as a depressed curb that would be along Maryland Avenue, of course. And as Mr. Deutsche indicated, I agree with his analysis as far as the requirements for the building in the B3 zone. This is a zone, it's an MU zone, as I said, a mixed commercial industrial zone. However, based on the storage building, you use the B3 zoning requirements, which is a business zoning requirement status for what we're proposing. And again, you can see we don't have 10,000 square feet. Obviously, the building is only 6,000 square feet. The other aspect of the variances that we're asking for, in fact, is the rear yard setback, where we do not have the 30 feet, which is required. We are proposing 2 feet. Obviously, the 30 feet would not make sense in this application because it would not be used for anything, quite honestly. So we did extend the building to the rear of the property by 2 feet. Also shown on that sheet, commissioners, to the far left are various details for the driveway proposed, also the curbing, the curb cut, sidewalks, and similar site improvements that we would be making to the site. You can see on the site diagram, we are proposing a 6-foot high cyclone fence on each side, the left side and the right side property lines. And as I indicated earlier, looking at the elevations, you also see the indications of the lighting that we are proposed around the entire perimeter of the building itself. So in essence, that's what we are proposing, commissioners. The proposed use, as I indicated, isn't allowed use, of course, in the MU zone, which is strictly a commercial industrial zone. The vehicles will be contained fully within the enclosed building itself. And we feel that what we are proposing certainly is better than initially where we were proposing to have outdoor storage. So we feel that there is some type of safety as well as appearance. We feel that everything would be contained in the building itself and would be more proper than to have outdoor storage, which sometimes can get messy and unsightly. So we feel that what we're proposing is a proper application. And again, the use is allowed in the zone, and we are seeking variances for the lot area and lot width. And under the C1 parameters of the municipal land use law, we feel that there is justification for C1 type variance because of the fact that the lot is undersized in itself, which also is grounds for asking and also granting, hopefully, approval of the application for those reasons.
Mr. Romanek, again, taking into account the size of the lot as you just referred to, and the size of the proposed building, in your estimation, does that size, the ratio, building to lot size, allow the applicant to function smoothly and also not create negative impact?
We feel it does. Again, leaving a 30-foot rear setback would not make sense. The allowed coverage is 60%. We are at 73.7%. If we did provide the 30-foot setback in the rear, that coverage would be less than the 60% even, but again, it just doesn't make sense in reality because what would happen back there. There might be an accumulation of not only debris, but possibly it could be a hangout. Possibly that would be also another deterrence which we would like to achieve. So we feel that the size of the building and the coverage is appropriate, and we feel that it certainly would fit in this MU zone.
Right now, in terms of the surrounding properties, is there any impact, in your opinion, on those properties by building, as you say, of a much lower height than is permitted? And in terms of your dimensions and the limited use during daytime hours, what would be your opinion about the suitability in terms of any potential negative impact?
Yes, well, again, if I can refer to, we don't have to go to the sheet, but commissioners, in the zoning requirements, the front yard required by the ordinance is 0 feet. We're providing 18 feet. The left side required by the ordinance is 0 feet. We are providing 3 feet. The right side by ordinance requires 0 feet or no setback at all. We are providing 3 feet. Again, combining the side yards, we're required or allowed to have a 0 setback. In fact, we have 6 feet. So we're providing a setback where the zoning allows one to actually build on the property line, which we're not doing. It allows 40 feet in height in a 3-story building. We're proposing a 1-story building with 30 feet total height, and that's to the ridge itself. So we feel that it is acceptable with regard to the zoning. We feel it's acceptable in the area. And again, it could be something else that there are many heavier industrial uses that would be allowed in this particular zone, because it is an MU zone which not only allows commercial uses but industrial uses. So
Right.
We feel that this is certainly acceptable. And again, would be only used for storage of vehicles and equipment, and there will not be any usage, as the applicant indicated through Mr. Mariconda, that in fact by 5:30 there will be no activity at the site.
Right, and given Mr. Deutsch's comments in his report that there are some residential uses which are essentially non-conforming, but of course pre-existing, and they are therefore not a problem in that sense, but you don't see any negative impact on those residential uses by virtue of this plan?
No, I don't. We are actually providing new curbing and sidewalks along the frontage of our property. And again, we are providing setbacks, which again would not be allowed or could be proposed by some other use. So that's not required by code. You can have 0 in the front, 0 on the sides. We're not proposing that. We are going to have fencing here. And as a matter of fact, I had spoken to the applicant prior to the meeting, and we are proposing a 6-foot-high cyclone fence if the resident fence there is quite proper.
Okay. And with respect to the variances that you've covered, then you feel that all in all, this project is the positive outweighs the negative, certainly then?
Yeah, we feel it does, yes. Again, the variances really have to do with the lot width and the lot area. And as they said, we don't obviously have 10,000 square feet of lot area. We have 6,000 square feet.
Okay.
So I think the building is appropriate for the size lot.
Okay, that's all I have, Madam Chair. Mr. Romanek, at this time?
Okay, you only have one other witness, which would be the owner of the property.
Yes, he's ready.
Okay, please, call him next.
Okay, he's stepping into the picture here, Mr. Joe Velasco.
Madam Chair,
That's pretty much it.
Hold on 1 second. Is he with you, Oh, okay.
Yes.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes, I do.
Say your full name for the record and speak loudly, please.
Joe, could you, are you sworn? Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, can you give us your position with Digman Dairy, please?
I'm a manager at Dingman's Dairy and part owner of the property
Okay, and how long have you been with Digman in that capacity?
since 2007.
So you're fully familiar with the operations and the proposal to utilize this site?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and in fact, I referred earlier to the fact that Digman has been in business outside of Paterson for many more years than those last 15.
Since 1955.
Right, so Digman chose to move to Paterson and has stayed in Paterson.
Yes,
And you in fact
Yeah.
approximately 50%?
about 50%
Okay,
a local.
okay. And you've heard Mr. Romanek's testimony on your behalf as well?
Yes,
And you're in full agreement with that testimony?
yes, I am.
And also you heard Mr. Deutsch's report to the board?
Yes.
Okay. Just to go over briefly then, your hours of operation in the morning until closing time at the main site?
Approximately 6 a.m. in the morning to about 5 o'clock, maybe 5:30 the latest.
Okay, and we talked about the fact that this site is an auxiliary site, for storage, mainly to complement the main site. There were no new business operations at this site.
No.
Okay. Every day?
No.
Okay. All right. I believe that that's what I have, Madam Chair, of the applicant at this time.
Okay, so at this time, I'm gonna open it up to the public. For anyone who has any questions of either Mr. Romanek, okay, or of the owner of the property. Okay, I will allow 2 minutes for call-ins and 3 minutes to make your point and make your questions. Okay, so if anyone has any questions, please call in at 973-321-1579, and the meeting ID number is 711-680-001. 2 minutes for
Madam Chairwoman, we have, several callers, I believe 6 or 7
Okay.
callers. The first
Okay.
caller is Hiram Ramos. Hiram Ramos, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mr. Ramos, okay, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Hiram Ramos. My address is 81 Maryland Avenue, Paterson, New Jersey.
Okay, thank you, and your question for I'm only taking questions, the questions for either the owner, or is there a question, for, Mr. Romanek?
Well, it's unfortunate that you're only taking questions because I just wanted to make a brief statement, but...
Okay, wait a minute, okay, wait, stop. I will allow you at the end to make a comment, but this is the portion that I'm asking just for the questions that you may have. You may make a statement, I'll allow that at the end, but right now it's only for questions.
Okay, well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
My question is, how do you plan on the minimum requirements for the actual, and what Bigman wants to actually do? The minimum requirement is 10,000 square feet, and the width is supposed to be 100 square feet, but the lot is just 6,000 square feet, and it's only like 40 feet wide. So how do you explain, how are you going to put, in other words, how are you going to put 50 pounds of rice into 2 pounds of bag, a 2-pound bag?
I understand your question, okay. Mr. Maricondo, do you want to have someone answer that, please?
Sure, Madam Chair. I think what I'll do is, Mr. Romanek, of course, is available to reiterate what he's already stated, but we acknowledge and we have testified to the reasoning for the variance request. This is a pre-existing condition with regard to a vacant lot that can be utilized for a great number of diverse industrial and commercial uses. What we've tried to do, taking into account the existing lot size, is provide a low-intensity use that fits the MU zone and is a perfect companion use to the existing permitted use of Digman Dairy's main location. And it's Mr. Romanek's professional opinion in dimensions without creating negative impact, but he can reiterate that again if you wish.
Yes, well, the lot is undersized, and in fact, that's why we're only putting 20 pounds of whatever in it instead of 50 pounds. If the lot was 2.5 times larger, then we would be putting certainly a larger building in more intense use. So we feel that it is, proportionate as far as what we have. So having a 10,000 square foot lot there would mean that we'd have a much, much larger, actually 2.5 times larger building. So we're not trying to fit a big building into a small lot. We're putting a relatively small building into a lot that we feel is appropriate. So it's actually putting 20 pounds of potatoes in this lot as opposed to 50 pounds of potatoes.
Okay, so the next question?
Are we still, is Mr. Ramos still on the line?
Yes, I'm still on the line.
Okay,
That was my question.
Okay, we'll save your comments then, I'll open it up at the end for comments. So next caller, please.
Next caller is Tiffany Smith.
Okay, Tiffany Smith, is she on the line?
Are you on the line, Ms. Smith?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Tiffany Smith, and my address is 74-78 Maryland Avenue, Unit 2, Paterson, New Jersey.
Okay, thank you, and your question, is it for Mr. Romanek or for the property owner?
I guess it would be the property owner. How many trucks do you anticipate going in and out daily?
Do you want to take the next one? Mr. Blasco's coming back to the microphone here. Joe, that's a very fair, excellent question. In terms of the actual usage of the site, I know you're very familiar with that. Could you explain how we're going to utilize the site in terms of volume and traffic?
Some days, no trucks will go in or out. It's basically storage for excess trucks that we have. Especially in the winter time, the trucks they'll be just stored there for the winter.
Is that because the dairy business is slower?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's slower. During the summertime, they'll only be used for emergency uses because there's not going to be electrical outlets in there for the trucks to
So this is sort of an overflow site, is that a fair way to describe it?
Right.
So it's not a day-to-day usage of this site?
No.
Let me just throw out an example, Joe, like in May, at this time of year, when the weather's getting warmer, if this site were in usage, what would be the typical weekly usage of it, of this new site?
Might not be used at all. No in or out.
Most likely.
Most likely.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so if the trucks are in there, if you do put them in there, how many trucks can you fit in there?
You want me?
Depends on the size of the truck.
So I guess I'm saying,
Right.
I guess what I'm saying is, if you're using it, if you do end up using it, like, are we gonna be looking at 2 trucks, 20 trucks? What, I mean, I'm just trying to get a
I'll
visual.
be looking at 6 trucks probably.
And one of my neighbors who didn't get the call, we were a bit confused with this call-in situation, just for the record, it's very confusing. She said.
And why would that be? I have a question, can you help me out, why would that be?
I don't know.
The instruction wasn't clear. I could answer that.
Yeah.
Okay, and only one person, I'm sorry, only one person can talk to me at a time.
2 minutes, so if I could just finish my.
Go ahead.
How many people would be, are there people in the building at a certain time?
I think we testified to, and Joe can confirm it, that this is not going to be an occupied site, only if and when a vehicle has to be taken from that site.
Or a piece of equipment.
Or a piece of equipment, yes.
Okay. And what
Okay.
plans do you have for like rodent control?
Joe, would there be any product stored on this site?
No problem.
No product at all is going to be stored on this site.
All my properties have pest control taken care of. All my properties have pest control.
So what's stored in this, and you may have said this, but I'm trying to understand all this. What is actually stored at the site if it's not ice cream?
Right, these are only the vehicles that are what we call overflow vehicles and equipment, which need to be drawn upon only as needed where one of the vehicles or storage equipment may not be functioning at the main location. And Joe, in your business, it's not, they call it an overflow center, right? Yeah.
Okay, so there's no product there. Okay, one of my neighbors said, who couldn't get through, she said she didn't get a call with an ID. She said, can you ask what type of vehicles they are talking about? Trucks?
The trucks.
How, Joe, if you want to describe the trucks, what they are like, or?
The trucks that you see in our lot every day.
Okay. I have another one of my neighbors who said,
Yeah, you know what, I'm gonna ask you, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna ask you, can you put that neighbor on the line so they can identify themselves?
Well, there's two of them. How do you want me to do that? There's two of them. Someone else just said they just bumped me out of the meeting. Please speak on air quality and asthmatics. I'm going to try to get back in. That's another neighbor.
Chairwoman Northrup, I have
Yes.
a caller, Cole Ross.
No, but wait a minute.
Can I,
No, hold on, wait, everybody, just stop one moment, please, okay? Just please stop, because we have a court reporter who needs to take minutes for this meeting, okay? I'm just gonna say, the woman that was just talking to me, Ms. Smith, I would actually like to have her back on the line, but if your neighbor is sitting there with you, can your neighbor just get on the phone and identify herself and ask her question? Can she do that?
No.
Yeah,
No one's sitting with me. They're texting me. Okay, Leslie's there, but there's one other neighbor, Cecilia, but Leslie's
Tell me what
now.
neighbor's name is, okay, and tell me where she lives, and then go ahead and ask the question, please.
Oh, my name is Leslie Hendricks. I'm in unit number 6. I was recently on the call, and first, I don't know how, but it bumped me out into the lobby, so I had to call back in. My question, being that it's going to be commercial vehicles solely on that property, it's not really a question, but it's a concern.
No.
You know, I have
Okay, give me the concern, but I'm taking comments at the end. If it's a quick concern, give it to me now, but I'm gonna take the comments that people want to make at the end of the meeting, not now. If you have a question, I would prefer that, but if you have a quick concern, maybe we can answer it. Go ahead.
Okay, I mean, I can turn it into a question. Being that it's commercial vehicles on that property, is there any sort of control or concern as far as air quality and pollution and all that, because we have elderly and asthmatics in our area and also in my household?
Joe, I'm gonna have Joe follow up, but basically, we're gonna have vehicles that are essentially inactive on this site. So I would believe that,
Running.
yeah, so we're not gonna, I don't think we're looking at any sort of environmental impact in that case, and I mean, Joe just confirmed that, but the only time those vehicles would be started when such an occasion arises, when that backup vehicle or...
Okay, I mean, well, limited, you know, I'm not in that industry, so what is limited? What's that frequency like? Is that once a week, once a month, once a quarter?
Well, he already spoke earlier on, and perhaps you maybe did have you on at that point, we apologize, but essentially what he said was there would be weeks or months when vehicles or storage equipment may never be taken off that site on a given week, particularly in the winter months. Perhaps more likely in the summer months, if there was to be a piece of equipment that was needed off that overflow site, it would be taken off. And Joe already testified that a week like in May, such as this, there might be no occasion at all to take a vehicle off that site, or perhaps once, maybe, Joe? Maybe one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, who else do you have, Mr. Deutsche?
Okay, Abdul Nouri there.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Nouri, ask your question.
Good evening, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Question, actually.
Wait, excuse me, wait, Mr. Nouri, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm
Please
sorry.
state your full name
It's 80.
and address for the phone.
Abdul Nouri, 8082 Maryland Avenue, Paterson.
Okay, 8082 Maryland Avenue, Paterson, Mr. Nouri. Okay, go ahead, please.
I have two questions. One of them, he mentioned 6 vehicles that will be stored in that place, basically. Now, why would he need to use such a huge place to store only 6 vehicles? This is number one. Number two is how we know. He said, it's not a day-to-day operation. This is a warehouse will be used only seasonal or perhaps semi-seasonal, not even seasonal. How will we know once he gets the approval that he don't need to be in and out every day 24/7? Because he mentioned in his one of the statements he said earlier, it will be a 24 access facility, which is, we understand that. And I know he wants to run his business, but how will we determine this?
Okay, we can.
Such a huge place. And how come it's, will be only...
All right, Mr. Nouri, he will answer your question.
Okay, well, I'll address that, Madam Chair. We've already testified to the fact that we don't believe this is a very large building whatsoever. We do believe that we've already made clear that there are a certain number of vehicles that we anticipate putting in there, but also equipment. So we think the site that we've designed is very suitable for the combination of equipment and vehicles on the site. And he's accepting the condition that this is not going to be a site that is utilized after regular business hours. It was storage for 24 hours to 7 days a week, but not access during outside business hours. So I'll reiterate that again, but we have made that point, I think, a couple times already.
I don't think it was clear. It's how you're going to be 6 vehicles in such a huge space, and now you're saying you want to use it as a storage as well as, for vehicles. So
But we said that from the beginning. We absolutely said that from our opening comments.
Excuse me. So this is basically vehicle/warehousing, which is if you have a warehouse, which is mean you're going to access that warehouse 24/7 to reach out to your merchandising, correct?
Again, we said no, we will not be.
Sir, yes, excuse me, Mr. Nori, well, I'll tell him, Mr. Nori, okay, let the attorney answer your question. You can't speak when he's speaking. We're trying to take notes here. We need these notes, so you must comply to these.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mr. Velasco one more time. Joe, what would be the nature of the equipment that could be stored there, and how would that and when would it be accessed?
To be extra freezer equipment, and it'll be used if,
I'm sorry, he'll have to speak up so we can hear him. We can't hear him.
it'll be our overflow of freezer equipment that we use in case a customer's freezer goes down or stops working, that we would replace it, would take it out of the storage to replace it at a location.
And it's your testimony that that would occur only on very, how would the general public know? Well, the general public, as in any application, can be watchdogs on any business site. And of course, if there is a violation of the building code or any condition of this approval, that matter can be addressed with the Code Enforcement Division.
Mr. Nori?
Yes.
Okay, please, wait, Mr. Nori, please, wait.
Yes, I'm waiting, go ahead.
Okay, please, that was the answer. You may not like the answer to your questions, but that was the answer to your 2 questions. You have one more, I'll take one more, and then I have to move on.
No, I'm okay, thank you.
Are you sure? Okay,
Based on these questions, based on what you're telling me, yes, go ahead.
okay, go ahead. Okay, Mr. Deutsche?
Is there, Mrs. Gonzalez, are you on the line? How about Jesse Gretcher?
I see a Leslie and I see a Miller on the line. I don't see anybody
Jesse
else.
Bratcher said she couldn't get through. She's
I'm
one
on
of
the
my
line.
neighbors.
Hello, I'm on the line. Yo, I'm on the line.
And who would that be?
Yeah. I'm at 86 to 90 Maryland Avenue, next to the proposed plan.
Excuse me, what is your name? I'm asking your name.
My name is Carl with a K, Roth, O-T-H, 86 to 90 Maryland Avenue.
Okay, you have a question? Do you have a
Yeah, I got a
question for
question for the
owner?
applicant. Yeah, I got a question for the owner. I got a question for the architect.
Okay, go ahead, state your question.
Hi. The applicant wants to construct a non-residential building, right, to house trucks. It's surrounded by 26 residential homes. How is the proposed plan going to benefit the residents who occupy the 26 homes that surround the proposed site? That's what the owner there, because he told me what he wanted to do already.
Madam Chair, this is a question that we believe that Mr. Romanek has covered in quite a bit of detail, and we give an extension.
You cannot speak, please, sir. Please, please let the attorney answer, and then you can talk. We can't take notes this way.
I got you.
Okay. Madam Chair, I was indicating that particular subject matter, we believe has been thoroughly covered by Mr. Romanek's testimony and Mr. Velasco's testimony, given the nature of the zone and the existing business which Stigmanderi, repeat that testimony again. We do believe that there's a planning testimony before this board on the record that it is a positive benefit to the existing area without creating negative impact. And we also reminded everyone that the residential uses are the uses that, although there for many years, are non-conforming to this particular zone. So I think we've covered it. Mr. Romanic's gonna answer a little further to that subject matter as well.
Yes, I think it's.
Well, I want to get.
Wait, excuse me, Mr. Roth, Mr. Roth. Mr. Romanek is gonna answer the question. Mr. Romanek, can you speak up so we can hear you, please?
Yes, well, as I indicated, uses, the residential zone, uses are prohibited, as I said, even though they're there, we want to respect them, of course, but, that zone is not designed for residential development. I also want to indicate what other uses are allowed in that zone. Residential uses are not allowed in the zone, but I will tell you some uses that are allowed by right in that zone. Taxi cab storage, funeral homes, banks, retail operations, dry cleaning businesses, car rentals, driving school businesses, car sales, auto repair and auto body are allowed as conditional uses. Warehousing is allowed, restaurants, bars, and liquor stores are all allowed. Storage and warehousing, as well as light manufacturing. This is an MU zone, it allows light manufacturing. So I just want to clear that up for not only the callers, but I know the commissioners are aware of the zoning uses that are allowed, the land uses that are allowed in the zone, but there are other much more intense uses that are allowed by right. And not only are they allowed by right, but there are many uses that I indicated that are allowed by conditional use. And as I'm saying, they have more of an intense nature than certainly what we are proposing. So what we are proposing is not solely meant to there, but we don't, our purpose is not solely to satisfy the residential uses. That's not our purpose here. Our purpose is to propose something that's allowed in the zoning ordinance, which we are doing. We want to protect residential uses as well. They're there. They're all known as non-conforming uses, which mean that they're there and they can stay there, but they're not conforming. They do not conform to the ordinance with respect to what is allowed. So I just want to indicate that to the board commissioners as well as the callers. There are many more intense uses that.
Wait, yeah, please state your question. You've got a few minutes to do that, and I'm going to move on, please.
Okay, it's a public safety concern because the applicant wants a the trucks are going to be backed in or backed out, one or the other. All right, so oppose the threat to the safety of the children and that live at the adjacent and surrounding properties there. And, you know, that's...
What's your question?
I talked to Mr. Velasco. Well, I talked to Mr. Velasco when they demoed the house that was next to me there. After they demoed it, they demolished the house. There was a house there for 80 years. And,
so what's your question, sir?
About the public safety concern, it's proposed.
Okay, excuse me. Wait, please, excuse me. Are you talking about them pulling in and out of their storage area? Is that what you're talking about?
He got 40 feet. He needs 15 foot for each driveway.
All right, then I'm going to let the owner answer that. So please, Mr. Merrick.
Sure, Madam Chair.
I don't understand the question.
Yeah, we're not exactly clear, but Joe, I think what the question is driving at is if and when vehicles or equipment has to be taken from that site, based upon your long years of experience in this neighborhood, do you feel comfortable that can be accomplished safely?
Definitely.
And how do you manage that? Is this with professionals, guiding the vehicles? Just a little quick summary.
Well, they're professional drivers, but I'll probably have two people there, one to open up the gates in the driveway area, and then, we'll watch while.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, right now with the truck terminal he's running there, where he's supposed to have an acre of land and 500 feet from dwellings. This is all residential area here.
Yes, it is, but as they just, Mr. Roth, as they just said, the residential isn't supposed to be there now, but they're already there, so they're basically grandfathered in.
They just knocked it down. They just knocked out the house.
Okay, but they're just, Okay, but they're able to do that, they're able to do that, so I'm gonna move on, because I don't wanna debate, my goal is not to
No, we're
debate with you.
not gonna debate. I'll make my final, closing findings at the right time, okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alright, is there any other people who are on the line? Because I thought we only had 6.
I have, another neighbor texted me, this is Tiffany Smith, another neighbor said that she couldn't get through, she said her code wasn't accepted, so may I ask her questions, please?
Madam Chair, I'm very open to having all the questions proceed, but I wanted to defer to council how we should proceed with that type of question pattern there.
Yes, I'm confused because I don't think you can ask questions for somebody else. I believe that's why I asked you before, can they get?
Madam Chair, you're
Excuse me, Ms. Smith, I'm asking the attorney, hold on please, go ahead.
Madam Chair, you're absolutely correct. You cannot take testimony through another person. If that person is there and that person can use her phone or somehow we can hear her and the court reporter can transcribe what he or she is saying, that's fine, but she cannot give her testimony through another individual. It's prohibited under statute.
No, before she said that, I forget your name there, but you asked me to ask the other person what their question was, and I did that a few minutes ago. So how was I able to do it a few minutes ago, but I can't now?
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to sign off and come back on, so give me 2 minutes. This is terrible.
May I ask a question?
No,
Yeah, Al, isn't that what's known as hearsay?
Yeah, I'm trying to be flexible with it, you know.
I'm trying to see, okay, I think this might be okay now. Okay, Mr. Aquaviva, can someone else call in, and they're not on the line, correct me if I'm wrong, is that correct?
That's correct, and if I heard correctly before, what I heard was that this individual was about to do that, but then the actual person came on and gave her testimony and made her point, asked her questions, I should say.
I believe there was another neighbor just now, but as far as I know you've got to, the neighbor has to be there. I don't believe that we can have someone else speaking for someone else. We've never been able to do that before.
You can't, but don't understand.
Okay, so we can't. So Ms. Smith, I'm sorry, we can't. I mean, I think everybody's questions, there's a lot of questions here this evening, and I understand everybody's concerns, I do. But there's a lot of redundancy also, so I think that they've answered the questions. If there's other questions here, of course, I'm gonna go on and ask anybody who wants to ask a question to ask a question. But some of these questions have already been answered, so I'm just gonna move on to the next person.
May I ask a question for myself then?
You have 1 more 2 minutes, that's all I can give you, and I gotta move on to the other callers, I'm sorry. What is the question?
Okay, will there be refrigerated trucks plugged in overnight?
Chuck? Speak up, Chuck?
No, there
Warehouse or whatever you want to call it, storage area that has any place where you can plug anything in. So I wish everybody just try to pay attention to the testimony so that we can move forward. So I'm gonna move on now. Who else is on the line? Mr. Deutsche? Mr. Deutsche, who else is on the line?
Yes.
No, I'm sorry, I gotta move on. No, I'm sorry, Ms. Smith, I'm gonna move on. You can make your comment at the end. Mr. Deutsche?
Okay.
Is there a Miss Miller on the line?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Dayline Miller, is that her?
Yes.
Darlene Miller.
Darlene?
Yes.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
Darlene Miller, 76 Maryland, Paterson, New Jersey, 07503.
Your question, please?
Okay, so being that these trucks are gonna be in this lot, do you have any concern or any plans of making it to be like less of an eyesore for the residents?
Okay, the applicant and the expert to testify, again, they've already spoken in great detail, particularly Mr. Romanek, about the design of the building to make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible in terms of its structure and its exterior appearance.
everybody, I'm gonna ask everybody to please turn their mics off because there's some background noise and it's interfering with what, court stenographer could possibly hear here. So please, everybody turn off their microphones except for the people that are talking. Mr. Romanek, go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair Lady, as we did see on sheet number 2 of the drawings, that shows the elevations, obviously. All the storage will be fully within the building. There will not be any storage outside, so we feel as far as the aesthetics go, it would be quite proper. As I said a year ago, we were proposing to have storage outside, which would mean that the trucks and equipment would be exposed.
Mike, but I think the question is, what is the exterior of the building gonna look like?
Sure that, yes. You'll see exactly what the building looks like. It's a metal building. It's metal clad. And that would be on sheet number 2. There it is, Commissioners, if you can see it, and also the callers. That's what the building looks like. You'll see the front elevation, so you're gonna be looking at a building that's 34 feet wide. And as I said, to the very top of the roof itself, the ridge would be 30 feet. And again, to emphasize, the zoning does allow a 3-story building 40 feet in height. We're not proposing that whatsoever. So the building will be a clean building, there'll be metal clad, there'll be proper lighting, there'll be cameras, security cameras, and so on. So all the storage would be fully within the building, and we feel that based on that in itself would be aesthetically pleasing. There will be absolutely no outdoor storage.
And you indicated there would be standard lighting and security.
Yes, they're shown on the elevations as well, and the floor plans.
Thank you, Mr. Mack.
Thank you.
All right, your next question, please. Do you have another question?
Yeah, I got another question for the,
No, excuse me.
architect.
Sir, excuse me, I'm not speaking with you.
Oh, I'm
Excuse
sorry.
me, okay.
Okay.
Darlene Miller, do you have any questions?
No, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Now, is there anyone else on this line that has a question? Because I want to go to them first. I'll go to you next, Mr. Roth, but was that you, Mr. Roth?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, well, hold on.
Sorry.
Any other questions?
Is Jesus Ambrosio on the line?
I see his line right here.
Yeah.
Jesus Ambrosio, is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please ask your question.
Okay, to the owner of this Digman company, do you live in Paterson?
Madam Chair,
Yes or no?
Madam Chair, I think this is, we've gone through this on other occasions.
That's.
The residence of the owner has no relevance to the application.
No, whether,
Madam Chair, before we.
yes, go ahead, Mr. Acquaviva, go ahead.
Can he please put his name and his address on the record?
Al, I can't hear you, you're gonna have to speak louder, sorry.
Can he please put his name and his address on the record?
Mr. Ambrosio, please put your full name and address on the record.
Jesus Ambrosio, 86 Maryland Avenue, Paterson, New Jersey, 07503.
Okay. All right, it's irrelevant whether the owner of this property, okay, lives in Paterson or not, has no bearing on whatever we're putting in this property. It has no bearing on it. So the man has been a businessman here for years. I'm asking you to ask a question, okay, but not the personal questions of whether he lives in Paterson.
Okay, that means that he doesn't give a damn about Paterson. No more questions.
Okay, fine. That's, anybody else, Mr. Deutsche?
Is there a Mrs. Gonzalez?
I don't see either one here.
Is there anyone else on the line?
We have Mr. Roth who has one more question.
Does anyone else that we haven't heard, press star 6 to unmute yourself? Doesn't appear there's anyone else.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. Mr. Roth, you have just one more question, please, then I have to.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. For the architect, the 3-foot setback, I'm 12 foot from the line right now. How does he come with, I know it's 0 to 10 in that zone, right? But I'm 12 foot from the line. The last property was 10 foot from the line. How does he arrive at 3 foot? He would have to go at least, I don't know, that would be the minimum. I don't know the other side of the property, how far the house is built from, but I'm 12 foot from the property line. And so I just want him to verify for me. Thank you.
Yes, the required setback is 0 feet or none.
Yeah, I understand
Based
that.
up, it's 0 feet, yeah, so we're proposing 3 feet on each side.
Okay, but the 0 foot, it would be if he had an existing building that he working off of, so that would be 0. But I'm a property next to him right now. So that would have to be, would make the 10 up.
Hold on. Commissioner Fisher spoke first. Commissioner Brooks, I'll get to you next. Commissioner Fisher, go ahead.
Okay. My question was, I'm trying to see what was at about 30 feet rear setback was required.
Hold on a minute, I'm sorry. You're echoing. Am I right? Melinda, can you hear him?
I don't have anything.
Can you hear him? You can. I can't hear you, Melinda. Melinda. Okay, can you hear Mr. Fisher? Melinda? Okay.
I can hear him, but it's a little echoey.
Yeah, it's an echoey, so.
I don't know what, is it still echoing now?
Sort of, but go ahead, well, let's see, we'll try to get through it. If we can't, you might have to sign off and come back on, but let's try it, go ahead.
Okay,
Madam Chair, just so.
thank you.
I'm sorry, what? Who's calling me now?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
the council, I can hear Commissioner Fisher perfectly.
Just see if we can hear, and then maybe you can, tell us what he's saying if we can't understand it. Go ahead, Commissioner, please.
My question is, was said in the reading about 30 feet setback was required and 0 is proposed or 3 is proposed. Can you go over that again, Mr. Mack?
Yes, Commissioner, 30 feet is required. We're proposing a 2-foot rear setback. The 30 feet in this particular case, and usually most cases, does not serve a purpose. It would just not serve any purpose whatsoever.
Mr. Mack, do you know what's in the rear of this property, if you know?
Yeah, Commissioners, you can see from the site diagram, structure. It's a waste management structure that's actually on the property line. So we're 2 feet away from the property line and 2 feet away from the building. That's the building that is adjoining ours at the rear.
And that's not in any way a residential use that would be impacted by that setback variance?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I know it's not a residential. I was just wondering, I know the building is. I've been over there yesterday, but I was just wondering why was it so close anyway? No matter what the building is.
I believe I heard testimony earlier that it would serve no purpose is gonna be back there enjoying the backyard. I think that's what, am I correct in saying that? You said that, and also you were worried about maybe people gathering back there?
Yes, that is correct.
Was that the test?
Yes, that is correct. People might gather back there. There possibly could be an accumulation of debris, not from the applicant. And likewise, Commissioners, also, 0 front setback is required, and we're providing 18 feet. So then that serves a purpose. We feel that's a purpose.
All right, thank you.
All right, good.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fisher, is that all? Okay. All right, Commissioner Brooks?
My question is to Mr. Deutsche. I want to understand something. The mixed-use zone, was that created after these? Because these houses, these houses have been in that area for a long, long time. So this mixed-use zone, was that a zone? As I remember it, the mixed-use zone was for areas that was being changed so that they could use it for like industrial or something, but the residential was already there. Am I right? Or I don't understand. You have 26 residential homes in this very small area, and then you have the industrial on one side or a block down where this ice cream place is at. It's on a corner or wherever, and then you have this building now that you're putting in the middle with all of these condos on one side of Maryland Avenue. I know how they've been. How did this mixed use? How did they decide on this? Because I remember that those residential was there, I'm talking about, 20 years ago.
There are two down there.
So when did that mixed use come about? And why is that fair to say that they can now drop one of these buildings inside of 26 surrounded residential houses? Explain it to me.
It has been a mixed-use zone since I started with the city 19 years ago. You're correct, those single-family houses predate the MU zone. I believe that the condominium building did require a use variance.
It did, yes, it did.
I don't know whether that answered your question or not, but there are other commercial businesses in the MU zone.
Yes, I realize that, but my concern is that I realize that they created the mixed, I remember when they created the mixed use zone was a creation in order to bring in more productivity and or more economic structures for factories or whatever industrials they wanted to put in there. But there was certainly residential areas that was already there. That's my question. I just wanted to find out about that. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, we'd like the opportunity just to comment on that whole concept if we could. Mr. Romanek, I know your experience both as a private architect and planner is predated by your role as a city planner, is that correct?
Yes, as a matter of fact, commissioners, you may not know, I used to be the city planning director in Paterson. And even prior to 19 years with Mr. Deutsche working there, but it's always been an MU zone. Commercial uses have been allowed as well as industrial uses. That was really meant to be a transitional zone between the residential, looking at the zoning map to the far right, or to that's an I2 zone, heavy commercial. So this acts as a transitional zone, but they really want to develop it more in the sense of commercial and industrial usage. And as I said, this goes back many years when I was city planning director. It had always been an MU zone and always designed for commercial and industrial uses, not for residential uses.
So that MU zone, to the best of your knowledge and it's your testimony, at least goes back 40 years plus.
Well, I'm not that old, but it goes back, yeah.
Okay. I'm not trying to outdate you, but
It goes far back, yeah.
When you were working for the commercial uses, in addition to the residential uses that are referred to, we talked about the environmental facility. Are there others?
As a matter of fact, I think, yeah, as I recall, Maryland Avenue, and by the way, I used to live in the Lakeview section of Paterson for many, many years, but there's a couple auto body shops down there as you approach Wabash Avenue. There's commercial uses on that block. You can see from the tax map, commissioners, on sheet number 1, I don't know if you can see that or not, those are large parcels which really are designed itself.
In fact, directly abutting us in the rear, as we just discussed.
Yes, absolutely. So it always had that nature that it was designed for commercial industrial usage because the city felt that it should really have more land available for the economy of the city. That's why it was designed that way.
And to provide employment such as Digman Dairy provides.
Yes, I don't know if Mr. Blasco indicated, but he does have 60 employees working at the facility now, and I think more than half of them are from Paterson. So that's what it's designed for those uses. There is a transitional zone between the heavy industrial across Pennsylvania Avenue and the residential usage beyond Wabash.
Okay. He did testify for the record that he has at least 50% Paterson residents. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for that opportunity.
Now, I just want, Commissioner Brooks, any other questions?
No.
Okay. All right, okay, so I heard somebody, who has a question? Yes, Commissioner Figueroa, please go ahead.
Really quick, this question is for Alan. Alan, it's just strictly gonna be like a storage facility, pretty much. It's not like it's a dispatch center where these trucks are gonna be going in and out.
Now, clearly, that's the testimony of the applicant, of the expert, that's your planner's report, and that the limits are very minimal in terms of impact.
Got it, thank you.
Commissioners? Commissioners?
Yes.
Oh, Wait, who said yes? Commissioners?
You asked for commissioners, yes.
Who's got a question? Okay, I hear no other questions. Comments only? No questions, they can make their comment. I think most of them made their comment already, but they can call in again, make their comments, and then, I'll ask, Mr. Maricondo to summarize, okay? Alright, so please call in if you have any comments regarding this application. I'll allow 2 minutes for you to make your point and make your comments, 973-321-1579, and the meeting ID number is 711-680-001. So, Mr. Deutsche, when you're ready, you'll tell me who's on the line.
Public comment.
Who's on the line?
Abdul
What is your name?
Nouri.
Nori.
Abdul Nori is on the line.
Okay, please state your name and address again for the record.
Abdul Nouri, 8082 Maryland Avenue, Paterson, New Jersey.
Okay, you have 2 minutes to make your comment, please.
I think I'm against the proposals in particular. I'm saying that there's a hazard for the children and safe driving through the making. And again, Mr. Architect, I apologize, not getting his name correct. He was trying to avoid all the direct question by saying he's not doing what the proposed could do. He's not doing it. I know he said he could do a 3-story building, but he's not doing it. He's only doing 20 feet high building. He doesn't have a setback, which he is proposing 3 feet setback. I look into the right of the property. I have 3 children that will be affected heavily on this matter, and I don't think this is the same for the children in the neighborhood. Period.
Okay. All right, we take your comments, when they're recorded. Thank you very much, Mr. Nori. Who else is on the line?
Hi,
Hi, this is
Wait, excuse me. I can only take one person at a time here, that's it. I heard, Jesus? Was it Jesus?
Mr. Ramos.
Mr. Ramos, where did he come from? I don't have him, I don't see him here.
Been on the line. I've been on the line all along.
Okay, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Hiram Ramos. I live at 81 Maryland Avenue, Paterson, New Jersey.
Okay, you have 2 minutes to make your comments, please.
Okay, it's very simple. I understand that the attorneys are trying to paint a picture for us that everything is supposed to be very nice and there's not going to be any issues and any problems. But there are issues that already exist and that have existed at the location where they're presently at now. And everybody will know in this area that there's countless numbers of accidents that occur in that corner. I mean, I've been living in the area for almost 17 years, and I can remember off the top of my head around 6 or 7 accidents that happened at that corner. And the reason why they happen is because the trucks are lined up at 5:30 in the morning. They're making lines in order for them for one of them to be first or to be taken care of first because they have to go do other trips and other deliveries. So they're already lined up at 5 o'clock in the morning, making noise, and they're creating noise pollution. There's something, something has to be said about that. Also, about the dual usage of the zoning. There was a house there. The dual usage for that zone, for that particular area, for that particular spot, location, was a home. And what they did was that they circumvented or they loopholed the law, and they purchased the property, knocked down the house, and went and hired the attorney so they could come and they could tell us that this is dual usage of zoning, and that it's always been used for zoning for this and that, but there was a home there already. Okay, and I have 2 children, the 1 7 and 1 4, and they live right across the street. And the trucks, I'm concerned with the trucks, and also I have a home that one day I plan on selling it, and I'm looking forward for the property value to go up. This is not going to benefit me with my property value when I'm going to sell my home. So use it for because the law states you can. There's a time when you have to take a look and look at the residents and the people that have been there and that they've paid taxes there and that have been there for years, supporting the city through their taxes and everything else. And those are the people that need to be considered, not the digman that lives in the commercial in the corner. Okay, why all of a sudden he needs more space? Well, why doesn't he go to Pennsylvania Avenue? There's several properties in Pennsylvania Avenue that he can purchase and have all the properties and all the space that
Mr. Ramos. Mr. Ramos. My God, Mr. Ramos, okay, thank you for your comments, I'm going to move, thank you for your comments, Mr. Ramos. I'm going on, Mr. Deutsche, who's next, please, I can't.
Next, is Tiffany Smith on the line? Ms. Smith?
Here.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Your comments,
just
2 minutes?
Just 3 quick points. I'd like it noted on record that it was very challenging and a little confusing getting through tonight. Several people were texting me, as I noted. I know this all makes a lot of sense to you all, but I mean, you do it. You do it all the time, so of course it's clear to you.
Yeah, but just with all due respect, excuse me, Ms. Smith, with all due respect, there was a lot of people that got on this line tonight and called in, so I don't know how difficult, I don't know what the problem was, and we apologize for that, but basically everyone else got in, but thank you, but go ahead with your comment, please.
With those who weren't able to get on, they're just as important, but anyway, also, I will say that as a homeowner here for the last 20 years, this month marks 20 years, I will say that I feel so not wanted by the city of Paterson right now. I really do. When my mother, she lived 2 doors down from me, when she retired in 2016, she was out of here in 3 months. Because we as homeowners, and granted, it's a mixed zone or mixed, I don't know, all of the proper terms or what have you, but I don't feel like we have any rights here. We pay our taxes, we try to keep our community up, but if companies want to expand or do whatever, or drop a building in the middle of a bunch of, in our community, it's fine. And I know you said that, whether or not the gentleman who's the owner, whether or not he lives in this community, that it's irrelevant. I would beg to differ. People come in this community, dump their things, dump their garbages, dump their tires, dump this. We have to drive around and look at it. The reason, and I'm not saying he does this, but the reason they're able to do this is because they have no investment in Paterson. They don't live here. They make their money here, but then they go and live elsewhere. So that's why it's so easy to expand and be so close to people's houses and do that. My question to this gentleman would you want this type of building next to your house? Would you be okay with this type of building next to your community?
Okay, Ms. Smith, we're not taking questions, now we're taking comments. So, make your comments.
That's my comment. And then my final comment would be, I will follow up with our mayor, Mayor Saya, and who I've had a conversation with, as well as my Councilman Al Abdulaziz, to find out what can we do as a community to try to challenge some of these variances or ordinances, because it is so wrong. It is so wrong. Like I said, I think in 20 years, our association here on Maryland Avenue, we fought against Demon years ago and hired an attorney when they did their first expansion on the other side of us, right? And we lost.
Okay.
So Paterson is not for the homeowners here. You're for the businesses. That's what you're for. That's what you're for. You're not, we're supposedly one Paterson. We're not one Paterson. We're pro-business in Paterson, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I got your comments. We got them on record. Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Mr. Deutsche?
Are there any other callers?
Yeah, Mr. Roth, right here.
Okay, Mr. Roth, you got 2 minutes to make.
Okay, thank you, all right. These are my findings. The variance is not in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance. The request violates the implicit purpose of the ordinance and violates the basic objectives of the zoning ordinance. Granting of the application by Dingman for 8284 Maryland Avenue, Paterson, Block 7202, Lot 5, will alter the essential character of the neighborhood, will affect the health, safety, morals, and the general welfare of the neighborhood and values of surrounding properties. Also, granting the application will violate the intent consent to the zoning ordinance and the master plan of the city of Paterson. Further, the application has not been demonstrated or meets the criteria which warrants the granting of the variance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other callers? Mr. Deutsch, any other callers?
I don't believe there are any other callers. Let me check with, IT.
Yep, go ahead.
This is Leslie Hendricks from Unit 6. I just want to, echo what.
Excuse me, wait, excuse me. You're gonna have to give me your first and last name and your address for the record, please.
Leslie Hendricks, 74-78 Maryland Avenue, Unit 6.
That's Hendricks?
Sorry, I did not hear her last name.
I think she said Leslie Hendricks. Am I correct, Ms. Hendricks?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead with your comment, please, you got 2 minutes.
I just want to echo what Tiffany Smith and Mr. Ramos said in regards to putting that property directly in the middle of a residential area. I'm not sure if they would allow it if it was in their neighborhood, and just because we have, we're surrounded by industrial factories does not mean that we need one more, and it also doesn't mean that we welcome all of them into our neighborhood. You mentioned earlier that there would be limited the amount of, back and forth or use of that property, but you also mentioned that it was 24/7. So if I'm working at night or in the morning, or I'm asleep because I work in the morning or at night, I do not want to hear, a tractor trailer or some freezer getting loaded up or whatever the case may be. So, again, as everyone has stated already, please take into account the residents. I'm not sure if you really even care, but as Tiffany mentioned, I do know the mayor as well, and I will have a conversation with him on Wednesday. That's all.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other callers, Mr. George?
Are there any other callers? No other callers.
Okay, good. So at this point then, I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Maripano, actually, let me ask, are there any commissioners that want to say anything on the record?
It's a metal building. I'm not sure if the owner is here of the.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about the color.
Show the color.
There could be, Commissioner, could be also the option of a color, which could be chosen, I suppose, by whoever you feel might be appropriate. I'm sure the owner would go along with that. And also, as I mentioned earlier, with regard to the fencing or shrubbery of any sort, I'm sure the owner will certainly entertain anything the commissioners say for that fact. But
Right.
the metal building could be of any color at this point.
Okay. Yeah. My comment would be to commissioners is that people have a right to a quality of life, and we as planning board commissioners should take in consideration the public good. And yes, it's a non-conforming area or a mixed-use zone. It's true, but there's 26 residential homes that's going to be impacted by a metal building in the middle of their block. That's something that should be taken into consideration. That's my comment.
Okay, Mr. Maricondo, would you like to then sum up, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioners, for hearing us. Number one, thank you for the dialogue with the residents with regard to their issues and concerns. Many of their issues and concerns actually go beyond or are actually directly related to other quality of life issues in the neighborhood outside the scope of this particular project, which we certainly sympathize with, and we hope that the city works with them in any way. With the city of Paterson, it's been a good neighbor in many respects, including employment, and this is an ideal site for a very passive structure such as this. And I want to clear up again that misconception that there might be ingress and egress onto the site during non-business hours. That's a specific condition that would not occur. We simply explained that the storage, the passive storage would occur or be in existence on a 24/7 basis because that's the nature of storage. It's not an active use after regular business. Witness, Mr. Romanek has outlined a really strong case for the suitability of this site as it's a permitted use and all the steps we've taken to make this a site that will be low intensity as compared to many other possible uses which Mr. Romanek alluded to that an applicant could come forward with on this site. We believe the variances that are being sought are relatively minimal and don't have negative impact on the surrounding area. I believe that this neighborhood can handle this type of use because that's what it's sure that he continues to be a good neighbor with both the residential and the commercial uses which encompass this neighborhood. He would have no reason not to continue that good work and effort that he has made over the many years in that regard. Again, the proposal will be very limited in terms of impact on the surrounding area. That's why we designed it this way. We feel strongly that the testimony provided in your planner's report gives rise to a clear.
Okay, thank you. Would any commissioner like to make a motion on this application? Would any commissioner like to make a motion to deny this application? Commissioners?
Madam Chair, did you say motion to approve you did not consider?
Motion to approve, I heard nothing.
Oh, it was only a few seconds, I'm sorry, okay.
Motion to approve, I didn't hear anybody stepping up to the mic.
Okay.
And motion to deny, I thought I heard Commissioner Brooks.
That's correct. On the motion,
Right, and so, okay.
are you ready or what? Should I go ahead with the motion now? On the application of Demon's Dairy LLC, 191 Pennsylvania Avenue, Paterson, New Jersey, for the property located at 82-84 Maryland Avenue, Block 7202, Lot 5, be denied, subject to site plan approval, bulk variances, city engineer, HEP Soil Conservation District.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fisher. Okay, roll call please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is on denial, so if you're voting on denial, it's a yes on denial. Commissioner Ahmed?
That's it.
Commissioner Figueroa? Commissioner Figueroa?
No.
No on
Is that-
denial, correct?
No on denial.
Commissioner Santana? Commissioner Santana?
I abstain.
Vice Chairman Fisher, I'm sorry, Commissioner Brooks?
Yes on denial.
Vice Chairman Fisher?
Yes on denial.
And Chairman Northrup?
No on denial.
Give me 1 second, please. We have we have two yeses on denial, 2 noes on denial, 2 abstentions, The motion for denial has not passed. Can you hear me?
So the motion to approve has.
To deny did not pass. So statutory.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, I'm sorry.
Okay. The motion for denial did not pass.
Right.
So therefore, this is a statutory approval because the motion for denial did not pass.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your consideration this evening.
Okay,
Can we,
who's talking?
We're there.
Alright, those of you from the Maryland area that called in, please disconnect. Please disconnect your phones.
Statutory.
Okay, please disconnect your phones. Okay.
Yeah, I hear people talking as well, Madam Chair.
Oh, I think I see one person here. Jesus Ambrosio, please disconnect your phone. Mr. Ambrosio.
Chairwoman Northrop? Chairwoman, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you just have IT do that so we can move on?
Yes, I'm trying to. I think, well, he just hung up. There he is. He's gone. Okay, he just hung up. We're moving forward. And the next application.
I actually still see him on the screen.
Really? I don't see him.
It says, Jesus.
Mr. Ambrosio? I don't see him.
It's on my screen.
It's on your screen. Okay. Okay, with that being said, I'm gonna begin the next portion, okay? This is, the next application is for, Sandra Express Shipping LLC, 979-981 Market Street, Paterson, New Jersey. Mr. Mariconda, are you representing this applicant?
Yes, we are ready to proceed. Alan Mariconda, 726 Market Street, Paterson, on behalf of Sandro Express Shipping.
Okay, so 979-981 Market Street, Block 7915, Lot 14. The applicant proposes to occupy a portion of the first floor commercial space for their wholesale and retail distribution company for the sale of appliances and household products within an existing building containing approximately 10,800 square feet that was formerly occupied by a light industrial use. Market Street between East 37th Street and East 38th Street. Existing non-conforming conditions will continue for not providing the required 30-foot rear yard setback and verifying that off-street parking can be provided. The applicant is in violation of operating without the required certificate of occupancy and has current zoning inspection violations for outdoor storage in the parking lot. The proposal is located in the B3 General Business District and requires site plan approval and bulk variances. Mr. Deutsche, may we have your review, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Property taxes and sewer charges are paid to date. The following are the percentage owners of Sandra Express Shipping LLC: Moises Caldero, 20%, Sandra Contreras, 60%, and Karina Lopez, 20%, all providing an address of 15-4 Place. Michael Romanek Architects has prepared a two-page site plan submittal dated December 18, 2019. Drawing 1 of 2 indicates the tax and site location map, the zoning ordinance site data, the site diagram, the survey, and a photograph. A note on the plan indicates that there are no exterior changes proposed to the building or site. No changes to existing parking area, drainage conditions, walkway fencing, etc. are proposed. The parking lot is accessed from East 38th Street, which is a two-way directional street. The existing parking for every 2 employees plus 1 space, 26 parking spaces, including 2 handicap spaces, are provided off-street. The retail parking requirement is 20 parking spaces. The wholesale parking requirement is 2 spaces based on there being 2 employees. The applicant states that 22 off-street parking spaces are required and that 26 off-street parking spaces are provided. Prior to any occupancy of the second floor space, an application shall be made to the Division of Planning and Zoning to determine if the proposed use is a permitted use in the zone. All proposed parking spaces meet the minimum size requirements in the zoning and land development ordinance. Although the parcel is frontage on 3 improved roadways, the rear of the building is situated against adjacent lot 15. As a minimum rear yard setback of 30 feet is required, a variance for this existing non-conforming condition is required. A variance is also required from section 400-2.7D. Parking lots containing more than 25 parking spaces shall contain a curved landscape island equal to 5% of the area of the parking facility. Minimal landscaping is proposed within the parking lot area. It is recommended that trees be planted on the public right-of-way on the 3 property frontages and be coordinated with the county of Passaic. No defined loading or unloading space or enclosed from 10 o'clock a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. 7 days per week. Exterior lighting shall be in conformance with section 400-2.5 of the zoning and land development ordinance. Any proposed signs shall be in accordance with section 500-8 of the zoning and land development ordinance. Upon receiving a conditional approval from the planning board, the plan shall be submitted to the city engineer for review and approval. It shall be the responsibility of the applicant and or the preparer of the plan to obtain a letter from the city engineer indicating the plan has been satisfactorily reviewed prior to the plans being released to the construction official. Surrounding land use. This proposal is located in the People's Park section of the city. The area is predominantly commercial and industrial in nature. However, there is an R3 zone east of the parcel in question. In conclusion, the applicant estimates that the cost of this proposal is approximately $20,000. As your staff review for this proposal, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. Mr. Mariconda?
Yes, thank you again. Good evening, Commissioners. Alan Maricondo on behalf of the applicant, Sandra Express Shipping. We'd just like to, before we introduce Mr. Romanek and the applicant, I'll indicate a couple. The applicant does not have his CO in place. You know, that's why we are here tonight. I've spoken to the Building Department Enforcement Division, and he understands that this approval is absolutely an express condition and absolutely necessary in order for him to continue to operate. So that's why he's here before you tonight. He does occupy a relatively small portion of a big commercial building, as you can see. And it is a building that his usage, I should say, involves, as Mr. Deutsche indicates, the distribution of appliances and household products within the confines of his limited area. There are appliances that are situated outside of the building. I've spoken to the applicant today. He's on with us, and that practice must stop. No objects or appliances or products can be outside the limitations of the building. And I've spoken to the building inspector regarding that, and my client knows he must comply with that immediately. Again, the other parts of the building are also commercial, auto parts, manufacturing. It's a typical commercial manufacturing building. So essentially that's where we are. I would also point out that my application did say Monday to Saturday, absolutely no Sundays work to be, no distribution functions on Sunday. The second floor of the office space is actually it's intended for my client's office and kind of a break room upstairs for his staff. So there's no separate use proposed for the second floor of any type. So that's the indication on Mr. Romanek's report that it's essentially not an active business use, okay? But that's what the applicant will testify to regarding the second floor. So it's not an active part of the business, but he wants to use it as an office, which Mr. Romanek may or may not have on his plan at this point. So I wanted to cover some of the points that Mr. Deutsche made so that Mr. Romanek's testimony and the applicant's testimony would make more sense, I think, in the context of my comments. So that's essentially where we are. I'll be calling Mr. Romanek at this time.
Okay, so let me just ask you, Mr. Romanek, the owner of the property again, correct?
That is it, yep.
Do you agree? Okay, all right, thank you. Please close, Mr. Romanek. I'm sorry. Please be sworn in.
Okay, please raise your right hand.
Yes.
Do you swear affirm testimony about to give? Do you swear affirm testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State
My
your
name
full
is
name for the
Michael
record.
Romanek, an architect and planner. I have an office at 291 Brooks Avenue in
Yes.
Paterson.
Madam Chair, for the record, you're like.
Yes, and we accept him as,
Yes.
yeah, we accept him as an expert witness. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay,
Please continue.
And Mr. Deutsche's comments.
okay, you can proceed then.
Yes, I'll be brief, Commissioners. As you can see, the property is located at the block end of Market Street, East 37th Street, and East 38th Street. The lot contains 22,800 square feet of land area. There's a building located on the property, of course, that's in the form of 10,800 square feet for a lot coverage of 49%. As you can see from the site diagram on sheet number 1, Commissioners, as you see it there, in the upper right-hand portion of the drawing, you'll see the parking layout, which shows 26 spaces. You'll see the building that's shaded in on the far left, which is the subject building, of course. You'll also see the zoning chart to the left of the site diagram. It's consistent with Mr. Deutsche's, complies with every aspect. There is the rear setback, which is required to be 30 feet. We have 0 feet. As a matter of fact, the existing property is located on the property line. It's a pre-existing condition. I've always felt that, obviously, there was a variance at some point that was granted. It is a pre-existing condition. Therefore, we're seeking, if applicable, a rear yard setback. Again, nothing is proposed as far as the site goes. There are no building changes whatsoever. We do satisfy the parking. And as you can see from the other diagrams, Commissioners, on the far left, you'll see the tax site. There's an auto body operation. And across the street, I know the Commissioners are familiar with the Bonfire Restaurant. So there is a commercial character in that zone. It is in the B3 zone, which does allow storage of products. And again, the subject of the building is the storage of essentially household appliances, including refrigerators, stoves, and clothes washers, and similar appliances. You'll also see a photograph, Commissioners, that is showing the view of East 37th Street and Market Street as well. Again, no changes to the site, no changes. You'll see the layout of the building. To the top of the diagram is actually where the parking is located, as so noted. And there's also an overhead door which does provide access to the building as far as bringing in and out the products, again, namely the household appliances. You'll see the layout as it's shown on the diagram itself. Represents approximately 3,800 square feet of retail area. There's also a wholesale section within the building itself, and a storage area, which is also noted on the drawing, representing about 450 square feet. As you can see on the top of that diagram, there are existing toilet facilities, and essentially visitors to the site come through that exterior door, as also noted. And they're greeted by personnel, which is essentially a desk and some chairs. I've been in the building several times, so I know the layout quite well. Again, you're looking at the structure of the building. There are no changes whatsoever to the building, to the site. We have adequate parking. The use obviously is allowed in the zone, and the request is for the applicant to use the structure as Mr. Mariconda outlined, and also Mr. Deutsch.
Mr. Romanek, Mr. Deutsch touched upon, and I tried to follow up. The second floor portion of the building did not have a specific use designated on your plan, I believe?
Correct. The building use I had as a ground floor, and at that time, I suppose, this was a while back when I spoke to the applicant, there was no use that was really designed for the second floor, which represents about 1,700 square feet. Essentially, and that would be a break area, so there's really not another business, or it's not used for business purposes or business offices per se.
Just a client's office and break room?
Yeah, it's a small, yes, and it's a break room for the existing staff, so there's really no increase, you might say, on the parking demand.
It's tied in a passive sense to the first floor use as a small office and break room. So
That is right. It's labeled as a two-story building, but the floor area, again, is 10,800 square feet on the ground floor, but approximately only 1,700 square feet in that second floor area. That's the entire second floor of the building.
right. And if there were to be a motion for approval, you could amend your plan to reflect that usage up there? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure, okay. Again, we meet more than the parking requirement, is that correct?
That is correct.
Excess, okay. Again, I wanted to reiterate with the applicant regarding the hours of operation, which I will do with him. And again, the only variance you've cited is the pre-existing rear yard setback, is that correct?
Correct. That's consistent with Mr. Deutsch's findings.
And do you see any sort of negative impact on any other business or any other type of use there?
No, it's actually adjoining the exterior wall of the adjoining industrial building, as you can see in the site diagram. So it has no effect on the adjoining properties whatsoever. It's essentially a two wall, so it's a party wall, which is served as a party. It's a common wall that serves two different buildings, and it's on the property line, so it has no effect whatsoever.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll be covering with the number of persons on the site, so that's gonna be outside the scope of your testimony. Would that conclude your testimony at this time?
Yes, it would. I just want to add one thing. There is an existing sprinkler system in the building, so there is fire protection.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Madam Chair, at this time.
Okay, so I'm also then at this time gonna ask you to please call the owner.
Sure. Moises?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You're muted.
I can't.
Not showing this muted. It's going there.
Moises, can you hear us?
We can't hear him.
Is there anything IT might be able to do, or should we reach out to him by phone?
Chairwoman, you're muted.
Thank you. Ryan, are you there? Okay, Mr. Deutsche, can you ask Ryan if he can, somehow speak with Mr. Calderon to see if he can help him get his microphone on the computer?
Is his volume up?
Well, I don't know if he knows, that's what I'm trying to say, but I can't hear you, Mr. Calderon. So down in the lower right-hand corner, there is a thing that looks like a megaphone, okay? If you click on that, it should then, you'll see you can raise the volume.
Excuse me, Chairwoman, Mr. Ford recommends that, the applicant disconnect and reconnect.
Okay. Can you reconnect? Okay, we'll give it 1 minute then.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
No worries.
Okay.
It happens.
Somebody else in the building?
No, that goes automatically out, the printer here, so it's alive, that's what means hanging, that.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Say your full name for the record.
Moses Calderon, Moses Angel Calderon.
Okay, Moses, would you tell us your position? You can put your hand down. What is your,
Excuse me, one moment, wait, one moment, I'm gonna ask everybody, because I feel like there's some feedback again. I'm gonna ask everybody but the people that are speaking to turn off their microphones, thank you.
thank you, Madam Chair. Moises, what is your position with Sandra Express Shipping?
I'm the CFO.
Okay, and how long has the company been in existence?
15 years.
Okay, so you recently are attempting to move to Paterson, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I think that's really important. Where have you been located before?
Hopefully, I really hope so.
And you understand that basically your operation up to this point, before you came to Mr. Romanek and myself, was without a CO, so that's why you needed to come to the board right away.
Yes.
Of course. All right, and again, you took a partial portion of a commercial manufacturing building. You worked with the landlord, and he told you this was a space that could be used for your purpose.
That is correct.
And unfortunately, you took that advice and then you found out through the city that you needed to come before the board, is that right?
That is unfortunate, but correct.
Right, so obviously you went to the professionals, got the plans done, and we moved forward to get to the board as soon as possible, given the amount of volume that's pending before this board. Couple points I want to today.
We open at 10 a.m. and we close at 6 p.m.
So strictly 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 days a week, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how many employees would you anticipate having on site?
On site, if we're granted the opportunity to operate, approximately 10 employees.
Okay. And would they be there in shifts or basically during the course of the day, all of them?
No, during the course of the day.
Okay. And you're the primary office manager type CFO person, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I talked about that second floor being just an auxiliary small office for you and your break for the staff, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so we're not looking to use that for any other sort of business use whatsoever?
No, not at all.
Okay. And that business next to you that really operates in most of the space is some sort of auto parts manufacturing?
That is correct.
So something much heavier than what you do?
Oh, yes, 100 times more.
And that's been there many years?
I'm not sure how many years, but at least 20.
Okay. And very importantly, you understand, and we talked, understand that now, right?
Yes, sir.
And that has to be taken care of because that's your parking.
Absolutely.
Understood. Okay. Tell the board what type of work you do in terms of your distribution. What is your target client base and how you work essentially?
Well, we're a wholesaler. Predominantly, that's what we really deal with is a wholesale of appliances. And our intention of moving to Paterson actually is to hopefully obtain the business from the Paterson Housing Bureau, because we have very good quality appliances. They can go to homes to the residents in Paterson. That's our real main goal.
Right.
And that's why that's what we're working towards.
So there's not so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We deal with mostly larger customers. We're looking to maybe do some retail, but to help out the little guy. But we're really a wholesaler.
Right. So your primary focus is not the walk-in trade, so to speak. And you've been in this business in Passaic pretty successfully for 15 years?
That's correct.
Okay, you made a decision to come to Paterson, and will you be employing Paterson residents?
Absolutely.
And have you already hired any Paterson residents yet?
The employees that I had to help me organize this stuff within the warehouse, they're all residents of Paterson. Every last one.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, I think that covers it. I'm sorry, your hours of operation, again, just repeat them for the record.
10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay, and I'm sorry, one more thing. When the product is brought to your site and it's sent out, tell the board what you have in terms of vehicles and how that's accomplished in a general way.
I have one small box truck, and I have one Sprinter van, which is the van with the high roof to transport appliances like refrigerators can be transported standing up and stuff like that.
There are vehicles that are there deliveries to your office that are made from outside entities, or how does that function?
Yes, they come in larger box trucks, and those hours usually The hours of us receiving is between 3:30 to 6
In the afternoons.
in the afternoon, yes.
So no early morning to affect the early morning traffic.
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
There's nobody here.
Pardon me?
There's nobody here. The gates are closed.
I understand. So 10 a.m., nothing could happen before 10 a.m.
No,
Right.
absolutely not.
Okay, all right. I think that covers it, Madam Chair, for any questions of the applicant at this time.
Okay, so I'm gonna open it up to the public for questions only. For Mr. Romanek, the architect, or, Mr. Caladrone, is that your name, sir? Do I have it right?
Calderon.
Calderon, Mr. Calderon, and so if anyone has any questions, and it's questions only, I'll allow 2 minutes for call-ins, 3 minutes for questions. The call-in number is 973-321-1579, and the meeting ID number is 711-680-001. I'll allow 2 minutes for call-ins, 3 minutes for your question. Thank you.
Are there any callers there?
I see a caller.
Is this Renata? Yes. Go ahead, Renata. Give your name and address, please.
Hello.
Yes, just, you have to speak up a little better than that and just,
Hello.
we can hear you, but you're soft, you gotta speak up.
Hello. This is Renita McKinney. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can,
Okay.
thank you. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Renita McKinney. I reside at 589 East 38th Street.
Okay, your question?
I have a question for the owner.
Yes,
So
go ahead.
I understand that the hours are Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. When did these hours
Correct.
start?
Moses, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
She's asking you a question. When is the schedule of hours going to start?
Well, if we get approved, that's our intended hours of operation.
What are your hours of operation now? Because you are open before 10 a.m. now. So what are your hours of operation now?
The only time I ever open before 10 a.m. is to like let the employees come in so they don't get wet or anything like that. But we don't open for business. Well, we're not open for business. We're on MCO.
Okay, all right, so this is not a period for comment. You said you only have one box truck and one Sprinter?
One van, yes ma'am.
And the only types of trucks that come to deliver are box trucks?
Yes, they're independent. They're not mine. I don't own them. They're delivery trucks.
And do tractor trailers deliver to you?
Yes ma'am.
How often do how many tractor trailers would you say deliver to you in a day?
In a day, no, in a week. 2 a week.
No, in a day. In a day.
In a day, 1.
So at least one tractor trailer per day is delivered to you?
No, it's not per day. There's no way. That's impossible.
So the most it could be is one in any one day?
2 per week.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it can't be 1 or 2 a day.
So you're saying the maximum number of tractor trailers that deliver to you is 2 per week?
Yes, ma'am.
That's also not true. Alright, where do your trucks unload? Your tractor trailers and your trucks that deliver to you? Where do they load or unload?
They back right into the main doors.
They all back into the main doors?
There's no other place.
Block?
There's no other place? Do you have plans for all of the trucks that deliver to you on a daily basis they have space to come into your parking lot and unload?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. There's space for at least 2 trucks at the same time to pull in and unload whatever merchandise they're bringing in. And if there's any other trucks that have already been instructed that they have to circle around the block, that they can't back up the traffic flow. Because I know that's an issue that we have with some of the neighbors.
So I've never seen more than one tractor trailer delivering to you at a time. So I'm trying to keep this in the phrase of a question because I know this is not the period for comment. So, what are your plans
You kind of just answered your own question. You said you've never seen more than one tractor trailer.
No, in your parking lot. Your parking lot only has space for one tractor trailer because there are appliances in the middle of the parking lot. But that's a comment. I want to keep the questions because I'm going to run out of time. What are your plans for cleaning up in front of your location? Or are there plans to put up a fence to hide the eyesore?
I don't believe I'm allowed to do that. I would if I could, but I don't think I'm allowed to sell the merchandise and it won't be an eyesore. Because if I can sell it, it won't be there.
So we're more than willing to accommodate with additional fencing, and Mr. Romanek can touch upon that as well.
How do you plan to address the traffic congestion with the bus route and your trucks that are delivering?
I already answered that.
You try to, if you can, do the best you can to follow up. Do you think you have any traffic issue with the bus traffic at all?
I don't believe so because we've instructed the drivers to pull in at least 2 at a time, and then anyone else that was on the outside had to circle around so that they wouldn't create a traffic flow problem. We really want to work with the neighbors. We don't want that to happen at all because we understand people live here.
And what are your plans to work with the neighbors? Other than giving the neighbors the finger when they ask you to have your truck full.
I personally have never.
I'm gonna have to move on to the next caller, but I think you can make your comments. Manita. Yes, you can make your question. Make it quick, please.
You have been in operation for how long without a CO? How long have you been operating from this location without a CO?
We have not been. We're using it as a storage facility. That's why it looks like such a mess and such clutter. We haven't been, to be quite honest.
How long have you been in this location as a storage facility without a CO?
Well, unfortunately, because of Corona, we've been there for almost close to 2 years now.
For the record, this application was, severely delayed by virtue of the volume and the backup that was created for various reasons, but the applicant.
Yes.
I'll say this for the comment period.
Fine. Okay, thank you. Mr. Deutsche? You're muted.
Yes, there are no other callers. Are there any other
I'm gonna
callers?
open it up. Now, I'm gonna open it up to the commissioners at this point. Commissioners? Commissioners? All right, I have a couple questions.
No questions, good.
I have a couple questions, because you've been here for 2 years, without a CO. You got caught up in the coronavirus and all the other good stuff, but, you've actually just been using this as your warehouse for 2 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, and let me ask you this, would it be possible, because it seems like this caller, feels that there's more than one truck coming in at a time, I don't even know if this is possible, if you could do this. You're saying you get approximately 2 a week, is it possible to schedule, like, one truck on a Tuesday, one on a Friday, I don't know, like, just, instead of
5 foot long, sea containers. The containers are stacked up on the ship, so they're
Yes.
quite large. So, usually they come and unload or whatever within 2 hours and they leave.
But the point that we're trying to.
the amount. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Maraconda.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify for Moses, what the chair is asking is, will you accept conditions to this application that set specific guidelines for number of deliveries by those bigger trucks you're referring to, in terms of days and a number of times and hours?
Absolutely, that without a problem, because at the end of the day, we're part of the community and we wanna be, a source of the community. So the community has to be able to trust us to do the right thing.
Okay, and then
you're willing to do whatever adjustments we need to make so that everybody.
Yeah, because I know in that area, we were all very, very familiar with that area. It could be congested. The last thing we want or need is to have trucks, especially of that size, or containers, piggybacking back and forth. Schedule, I'm not gonna tell you which days, but like spread out those deliveries so that. Excuse me? Who's talking right now? Okay, cause I'm the only one talking right now, so, okay? So, as a condition, just kind of spread them out and see if you can get some, like if they're used to coming 2 on Tuesday, do 1 on Tuesday, maybe 1 on Wednesday or something, try to spread it out. Also, it is a concern to me that, and I know that this has been discussed, but I just want to reiterate this, you can't leave your storage of your items out in.
No, I understand, outside in the exterior.
Community.
And that has to be addressed immediately.
That would have to be another thing that has to be taken care of, that would have to be brought in, and we just can't have stuff laying out on the sidewalk, laying out in the front, and perhaps like, Mr. Romanix, could address a little bit later on, some sort of a fencing area, so it doesn't look like an eyesore, to,
I'm willing to do that.
community.
Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's that. Now I want to go back to the commissioners. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Madam Chair, we do have another caller.
Okay, who is the caller?
Caller, identify yourself. IT advised me there's another caller.
Is there another caller on the line?
I guess it was my mistake. Sorry about that.
All right, no worries. All right, so, I'm just gonna ask commissioners.
My neighbors are trying to call.
No, excuse me, I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. Wait, I'm sorry. Ms. Renita, just wait 1 second. Please, when I'm talking, the court person can only talk, the court stenographer can only record one person at a time. We can't all be talking. So if your neighbors are trying to call in, that's great, then we'll give them a few minutes. But you can't speak for your neighbors. You cannot speak, do you understand?
Yeah.
I'm sorry? Ms. Renita?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna give them a few minutes to call in, okay, see if they can reconnect, and that's fine, and if they can, we'll hear, their questions. That's what we're here for, to hear their questions, but, you can't speak for them. So, I'm gonna ask the commissioners, do you have any questions of this applicant?
That's to unmute yourself. Hello?
Who's this? Who's saying hello to me?
Is this
saying hello?
This is Sonia. Sonia McKinney. I'm trying to get on. They gave me the number. The IT gave me a number to be able to get on.
Okay, fine, you're
Can you hear
on.
me?
Yes, we can now hear you, Ms. McKinney. Okay, please state your name and your address for the record.
Yes, my name is Tony McKinney. I live at 589 East 38th Street.
And your question is?
Okay, my question is, when do the company there plan on cleaning up on the outside?
Moses, the question is, regarding outside cleanup, I think you already referenced the fact you know that it has to be addressed.
Yes.
Right away, there's no time period that's acceptable other than immediately, you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now is the time to do all that because now you don't have a CO, so you can't really operate business, so this would be the time to do that.
And you understand the building department, if there were to be a grant of approval, will not grant you a final CO until you take those steps. Understood? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have another question.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, now, how are they going to control the traffic as far as all the delivery trucks that come on our block?
All right, here's the thing, Ms. McKinney, it was just stated, because I actually asked the same question you were probably trying to get on at that time. I asked the owner of this property if he could stagger the deliveries. In other words, if he gets 2 containers, one on a Tuesday, one on a Thursday, one on a Monday, one on a Friday. I don't care how they stagger them, but 2 would not come at the same time as a condition on this particular application that would have to be adhered to. However, okay, for the rest of the traffic, I'm gonna just speak for myself and then I'll let Mr. Mariconda speak. We cannot control the traffic for everybody else's business on that block. So Mr. Mariconda, would you like to speak to that?
Well, I think, as you said, we all can sort of acknowledge, and I'm very close to that area myself, so I know the traffic flow as well for my offices. So again, everybody has to work to be a good neighbor in that area, and I think that Moses has got a better understanding of that even as we move closer to tonight's hearing and as well as during tonight's hearing. But I think, Moses, one of the important points is you're going to have to utilize vehicles or the outside vehicles that come in, the larger vehicles. There has to be oversight and supervision every time that occurs. You understand that? Okay. Speak up for the record.
Excuse me, yeah, for the record, you have to have your mic on.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. Okay. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, please. I have to wrap it up and go on to another caller, so just I'll give you another minute to ask the question here, and that's it then. I have to move on.
Okay, so my last question is, when they have customers that will come to buy appliances from there, where are they going to allow them to park their car to be able to load appliances into their cars, like on a pickup truck or whatever? Because they come and they double park.
Okay.
Mr. Romanek?
Mr. Romanek?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. You're going to answer that, Mr. Mariconda. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. If necessary, we'll call Mr. Romanek back in, but the parking lot is designated on the site plan. It does more than meet the parking requirements. It's now incumbent upon the applicant to make sure that those parking spaces are available, as we discussed earlier. But also, it's very important that he emphasized that a good portion of his business is more in the nature of distribution wholesale, although he would certainly be willing to serve the neighborhood retail on a...
Okay, and if that does not happen, what are you going to do? What's going to happen after that?
Well, I can tell you this, the building department is very aware of this site. They've already been talking with my client and with myself. They're aware of this application being pending, and I think they're going to ensure that this site is properly enforced with respect to monitoring any violations of any approval that might be granted. This is a site that's within their radar, so to speak.
Okay, I'm going to move on. Ms. McKinney? I'm moving on.
Okay.
Okay. I believe that, excuse me?
Hello,
Deutsche. Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I hear you. I'm asking your name, please.
Okay, my name is Kamara Nati Davis.
I'm sorry, did you get that, Melinda? Did you get the name? Okay, please say your name slowly so that the court stenographer can take the proper name and state your address?
My name is Tamara Natty Davis, property owner of 591-593 East 38th Street.
Okay. Your question is for whom?
For the owner.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, what are your plans to eradicate the current problem that we are having now, the obstruction of traffic and the blockage of active driveways? If I may, a few months ago, like 2 months back, I am a college student. I am actually pursuing my bachelor's degree. My internet was out and I had an emergency like 10:30. This assignment had to go in at 11. And I was trying to get out of my driveway and there was one tractor trailer and another truck blocking my driveway. I went out, I went to the driver, he didn't even want to move because if he moves, the other truck will take his place. What are your plans moving forward to stop this from happening?
Okay, hello, miss. Excuse me, miss. Okay, we can just ask her a question. We don't have to get, aggressive about it. I believe that this has already been discussed. If you were listening to the testimony that we said we're gonna stagger the delivery trucks. But again, I'm gonna ask Mr. Mariconda, is that not what we said and it would be a condition?
Absolutely, and bearing in mind that this is a fairly large commercial site with another very large business, so what I'm gonna do also, if this application is deemed worthy of approval, is speak to my client's landlord, because perhaps some of the volume and concerns might be arising out of the other business as well, so we're gonna address that as well.
Okay. And just to add, I hear the owner saying that you operate 10 to 6 p.m. This happened like 10:40 at night. So I see vehicles there before 10 o'clock. You guys are open. So I mean, you guys operate before 10 and also after 6 p.m. at late night.
Moses, can you address that?
Am I not correct? No, asking the owner, he says that the business of operation is 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Right.
But I have seen many times after hours like this happened to me, this emergency occurred like 10:40 at night and it was operational. So what is he saying? I mean, you're not being truthful. You operate before 10 a.m. and Yes. I am a college student, as I told you, and one night I had an emergency. My internet was down and I had to run to my friend's home. And I could not get out of my driveway.
Well, I apologize that happened to you. I'm really sorry that situation occurred to you. But
I personally
that's not normal. We don't do that. If we do it once in a blue, it's something very rare, like, we have to get something unloaded, like an emergency or something, but that's not what we do.
You understand you have to be down by your hours?
Thank you, because that was an emergency for me. My children could have been sick and I have to run out. My driveway is an active driveway. But I live here for 6 years and this is the first time I'm seeing operation like this going on in the area. You can't go in, you can't go out as you like freely because of the congestion of the tractor trailers and stuff like that.
Right, no, I understand.
Well, I think we've already said there'd be conditions about the deliveries of these tractor trailers and the hour. Any other questions?
That's all. I only have comments, so I'll get back to the comments.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna ask the commissioners. Okay, any more commissioners? Any commissioners here?
Commissioner Figueroa, I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Figueroa, go ahead.
You may have addressed it, but for some reason my sound keeps going in and out.
Okay.
Not too bad, but as far as the parking, right, the appliances. So right now, so I get a better understanding, there's some appliances that are limiting the access to parking for those individuals. And I know he doesn't do a lot of retail, it's more wholesale. But once that clean up and they could store some of those appliances, there will be more accessibility as far as parking. Is that correct, Alan?
Yes, ma'am.
That is correct from the applicant, and that's the whole purpose of that parking layout that Mr. Romanek has given us. And whether that was a practice where he was in Passaic, I think Moses understands very clearly now that the outside portion of the building is dedicated strictly to parking, not for a display of appliances or, easy access to appliances, if you will. That cannot happen.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioners? No commissioners, okay. So then at this time, 2 minutes to make your comments on this application. You may make your comments. Mr. Deutsch, who are we starting with?
Renata McKinney.
Okay, it's not, I think it's Sonia McKinney.
Sonia and Renata, I thought.
Right.
Okay, so,
am I okay to start?
yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so my comments are this. The owner came in and he started by telling this board that they only have one Sprinter and one box truck that might come to make deliveries. And now we know that they are sea containers that come and make deliveries. This owner has not been honest with the board, and the number of untruths that have been told include the hours that they operate, as attested by my neighbor who just explained how she was blocking her driveway at 10 p.m. They regularly open before 10 a.m. They open on Sundays. I have provided the zoning board with pictures of trucks unloading in the middle of the street, several hundred feet away from their open gate. I have also provided video of trucks idling, and I don't mean sprinters or box trucks, I mean tractor trailers idling in front of our properties, blocking our driveways. They came into the city violating the rules. They have operated without a CO for 2 years. That's a year when you don't count COVID. Their gates are open now as we speak. They claim to be providing the residents of this city with quality appliances. Are these quality appliances that are sitting outside in a parking lot through the elements, rain, sleet, snow, hail? These appliances are outside. They do have retail. I witnessed people come in U-Haul trucks to purchase from them. These people have also blocked our driveways, parked in our driveways. We as a city need to stop rewarding people who want to come in and operate in this city and not follow the rules. This business has not been a good neighbor. They have done nothing to be a good neighbor. The oil appliance store that you say is a kin that shares the warehouse has been in operation for years. I have been here 20 plus years. They are a good neighbor. This business is not a good neighbor. And I ask you, please, to deny their application, because this is just not about them, this is about our quality.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna have to move on, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Okay, who's next, Michael?
Sonia McKinney.
Didn't we just call on her?
I think that was Renata.
No, it was McKinney. Go on to Renata.
Renata, are you there, caller?
It's two sisters.
Caller, are you there?
They're not sisters. And she's not there.
Okay, so is there anyone else on the line that wants to make a quick comment in 2 minutes?
Yes.
And who would that be?
My name is Tamara Matty Davis again. Yes.
Okay,
I
go ahead.
Okay, so my comment here, I mean, on this block, my child and the other neighbors' kids, they always ride their bikes along the sidewalk. Since recently, my 8-year-old daughter is scared to actually go out and ride on the sidewalk as she always does because of the tractor trailers. And the owner's testimony given is hours of operation, and it's not truthful. I mean, we can't take this man for his word. You're going to lie about the hours of operation, about how you do business. It's not only wholesale; they sell to retailers and stuff like that. So we can't take this man as a credible neighbor right here. You're sworn on the testimony, but yet still you are deceiving, saying the wrong things. I have taken videos of the operation that they do there and everything. So I'm just asking the city to just reconsider this. We are here as residents, and this business here is not good. This will have a negative impact on the community right here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so no other callers. There's no other callers?
Can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me?
No, who is that?
This is Sonia. Sonia McKinney.
Didn't we just call on you before?
Yes, I had my phone on mute, and I kept saying hello. I just realized I had it on mute. But I do have a comment, and my comment is, look, we've been on this block for, I'm going to say, at least 26 years, okay? And the company that used to be there, we never had a problem with them. We have enough traffic that's coming up and down this block every day, all day. We do not need no extra traffic like trucks and tractor trailers and box trucks. And then, again, like I said earlier, customers coming, double parking to buy appliances, okay? We don't need any extra because the bonfire is already giving us problems with the heavy traffic flow that's coming in with them. We can't even turn down our block because that company with the box trucks are right there. As soon as you turn off on Market Street onto East 38, we can't even turn on our own block without fear of getting into an accident. That's stressful coming home from work, wondering can you turn on your block without getting into an accident. I just want you guys to take that into consideration.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Okay, Mr. Deutsche, are there any more callers?
No, there are no more callers.
One more thing I need to say.
No, Ms. McKinney, make it quick. Ms. McKinney, make it quick. I have to wrap this up. Make it quick, please.
Yes, what I'm saying is, as far as people being able to log on, it was hard for us to be able to log on. There was really no information for us to be able to log on.
Well, in the very beginning, I said what you had to do, but I'm sorry that any of you had any problems. I'm sure that in the future we'll try to do better, but we haven't had any problems with people logging on. Even in the last meeting, we had about 8-9 callers that logged on. So for you that couldn't, I apologize, but we had 9 that could. So I thank you for your input, but I'm gonna have to move on. Thank you. All right, Mr. Mariconda. Mr. Mariconda.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you.
Would you like to summarize that?
Madam Chair, may I have about 30 seconds off record, please, or maybe a minute?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
cut it?
I'm not answering this, no.
Madam Chair, I appreciate those, went a little more than 1 minute, I apologize. We're speaking to the applicant and our team here with respect to the presentation. What we'd like to tell the board as part of our summation is this. This applicant, I think, clearly understands that he has to do a lot of work to make sure that he's a cooperative neighbor in this area. Some of the comments that were made, we appreciate the neighbor's comments very much, but he never indicated, he indicated only that he owned those smaller trucks. He acknowledged that there were bigger trailers and vehicles for the larger delivery. Detailed explanation of which trucks he owned, which ones were coming from outside. What we'd like to do is this, ask the board's consideration tonight, and as part of this summation, I'm indicating that we think this is a very positive business for this community in terms of employees and the services he can provide to the local retail customers and to perhaps the school system and other larger entities that he talked about. What we'd like to do is be willing to attach a condition that if the building department was instructed as part of this approval to make a re-inspection of this site, perhaps within my suggestion, that if the violations were to be determined to be, any violations of the building code were determined to be in existence at that time, the board would have the authority to rescind the approval. So that's the concept I wanted the board to consider. Other than that, we think this is the type of business that belongs in this area, and we ask the board to give this applicant an opportunity to remedy these problems, complete the removal of his business from Passaic to Paterson, and accept him as a good Paterson businessman if he follows those conditions.
The city or the building department or any other entity for that matter would be cured within, and I'm using his own language, within 45 days of this approval. If they're not within 45 days, then this approval could be rescinded and would have no legal effect whatsoever. The two that I'm not quite sure of was, I know, Madam Chair, I believe you mentioned this, in terms of the hours of deliveries. Now, I had heard a proposed limitation, but I didn't hear specifically what those limitations were. Were they gonna be limited in terms of time,
I asked for a staggering of deliveries so that no two deliveries would come the same day. I mean, I don't know what happened. If you're not operating a business and you were there, or whatever you were doing, storing stuff in your warehouse or whatever, I don't know, at that late at night. You do have neighbors who have lives and they want to go on with their lives, and you can't tie up that street. So I'm asking that you limit these deliveries to certain time frames. You said they come between 3:30 and whatever in the afternoon. I believe that's what you said. Okay, but you can't be getting deliveries at 10 or 9 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night. You can't be doing that, because this is also an area that is already very congested, and that is those are the conditions I said.
we begin, and the deliveries would begin, and a time that they would end.
I think the idea being that it would be normal business hours between 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and I would follow along with the chair's recommendation that the deliveries from the larger vehicles only occur once a day, not backed up in the same day. I think, Madam Chair, that was your thought?
Yep. But I also don't want late night deliveries, because there's gotta be some stipulation as to the hours that these trucks can be delivered, so as not to cause any havoc. I mean, this woman couldn't.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
I think I just.
Hey, 1 second, Mr. Calderon, go ahead.
I think, Mr. Maripana just indicated that those deliveries would be between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Okay, but let me talk now. I think Mr. Calderon had.
A container had to be returned to the board or something? Because, in all honesty, I just have to ask one question. How do you think a container can make a delivery or operate with the Bonfire Restaurant in full effect? There's no way Christina, what do you mean?
Alright, well, the thing is, okay, I
We're gonna look forward, we're gonna look forward, okay?
Yeah, well, let's look forward, let's not look back. Things happen and maybe it was just a quirk, who knows, but we're talking about the
Right.
stipulations moving forward.
So,
Mr. Aquaviva, do you have it, was there something else in there?
yes, so the deliveries would be between 10 o'clock AM and 6 o'clock PM. And that there would be no two deliveries, Madam Chair, from a tractor trailer? How do we want to limit that? No.
Well, those are the box trucks, Mr. Aquaviva, he's talking about a small box truck, not small, but they're way smaller, okay, to make a delivery, of a couple of refrigerators. But the tractor trailers have to be staggered, they have to be staggered.
So no more than two tractor.
And he only gets approximately 2 a week, so one day,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was reading.
One another.
There would be no two deliveries on the same day from a tractor trailer.
That's right.
Okay, and, Mr. Mayor, the hours of operation, notwithstanding the fact there would be deliveries between, only deliveries between 10 AM and 6 PM, but that would actually be the hours of operation as well, correct?
That's correct, Monday to Saturday, yeah.
That was my next question, Monday to Saturday.
But I thought I heard something too about amending something on the second floor, did I hear something about that?
That is correct. Mr. Deutsche's report indicated that there was no specific use designated on the second floor, and we testified that that would be a small office break room for my client, no other second business use.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like you to read them into the record, so that whoever makes the motion, because there's quite a few, so if whoever makes the motion to approve or deny, whatever, okay?
Okay, so, going from the beginning, first condition would be that a certificate of occupancy would not be issued until all items are removed from the property, outside of the property, and the property be cleaned up. In conjunction with that, all violations issued by the city that are currently outstanding would be cured and taken care of within 45 days of this approval, if it's approved tonight, or this approval would be rescinded. The third condition would be that the hours of operation, including deliveries, would only take place. The condition would be that there would be no two deliveries on the same day from a tractor trailer. And the last condition would be that the second floor would only consist of an office and a break room for the employees of the business and would not be a separate business or residential use.
I want to go back to the staggered deliveries, and then I wanted to also talk, there was one more about the fence.
Yes, Mr. Romanek, perhaps, did you want specifics about the fence on the record, Madam
First
Chair?
I want to go back, no, excuse me, first I want to go back to the staggered. It's not that we're saying, what we're saying is, yeah, no two deliveries on the same day, but also the applicant said that there are only approximately 2 deliveries all week. So he's got to stagger, one for one day, one for another. I don't want to see two trucks coming every.
About tractor trailers, you're talking about any deliveries?
I'm talking about the tractor trailers.
Right, so that's, I think we're saying the same thing, Madam Chair. Basically, there's not gonna be 2 deliveries from a tractor trailer on one day. If there's gonna be a delivery from the tractor trailer, it has to be staggered throughout the week without 2 on one day.
It has to be only 2 per week, which is what he said. One day, one another. Am I correct, Mr. Calderon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
So, okay, and then I want to hear about the fence.
Well, currently there's an 8-foot-high cyclone fence, which is a chain link fence. I have it labeled as cyclone. It's located on the perimeter of the property, and I'm not sure now if we have to do anything with the fence. It's up to the board, of course, because if the idea is to really clear the yard from the appliances. And
I thought the whole idea of the fence was to hide some of the activity that's going on from the neighbors. I thought, like there'd be some aesthetics to it somehow. Am I correct in saying this, or did I hear something wrong?
No, we could do that, we could put, screening slats within the, stockwall fencing, that can be done, absolutely, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
alright. Okay, so now we got that on the record?
Yes, you do.
Okay, great. Okay, so now at this time, I'm gonna open it up to the commissioners, but any commissioner, like to, either make a motion to approve? Any commissioner, make a motion to approve?
This is Commissioner Figueroa, I'd like to.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Figueroa.
I know it's a lot, so bear with me, because there's a lot of,
Well, but Mr. Acquaviva already read it all into the record, so we really don't really have to go down that road again.
Right,
Okay,
Commissioner,
wonderful.
If you want,
Okay.
if you want to make a motion for approval, you can just say, including all of the conditions that were placed on the record by council, and then we can take care of it from there.
Yep, okay.
Wonderful. Okay, so on the application of Sander Express Shipping LLC, 979-981 Market Street, Paterson, New Jersey, 07503, at property address 979-981 Market Street, block 7915, lot 14. I move that the board attorney prepare a resolution granting site plan approval, bulk variances, city engineer, Passaic County Planning Department, and all the other conditions that were placed on the record by the attorney, planning board attorney.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Ahmed, was that Commissioner Ahmed?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Figueroa?
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed?
Yes, my vote is yes, but I just want to make a comment to Mr. Calderon.
Yes, go ahead.
I know you did not deny that you blocked your neighbors' driveways and stuff for emergency loading and unloading. Just remember, for your emergency loading and unloading for 5 minutes could be someone else's life-threatening, medical emergencies. Just try to avoid it, and we would love to have you have your business in Paterson. So just try to do your best, for your neighbors and everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner. Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Santana?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fisher?
Yes.
And Chairperson Northrup?
Yes. And my vice, Mr. Calderon, listen to Mr. Mariconda, okay? Because truly, we'd love to have you here, but honestly, you gotta do the right thing for Paterson, and you gotta do the right thing for your neighbors. Okay, it's important, and as Commissioner Ahmed said, your emergency to get your goods in could be somebody else's emergency to get out, to get to a hospital, so you've got to work with your community.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
100%.
All right, that being said, commissioners, we have one more small order of business, and we're gonna get to it very quickly.
Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Acquaviva.
Madam Chair, I would love to get to it, but the battery on my laptop has died.
Okay, so we can't get to it unless you want to read it into the record. Do you want to read it into the record, Mr. Deutsche?
I can't open the document.
We all had a problem. So tonight we really can't read it into the record. Are you be okay with that? Okay, we're okay with that. So
It's
you
okay.
can go, Mr. Calderon, you can go. All right, so the rest of the commissioners, I wish everyone a good evening, what's left of it. And we see everybody, our next order of business is June 2nd.
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes?
let's all pray for our Madam Secretary.
Yes, we have to pray for Madam Secretary, so, and she's in our thoughts 100% for sure. So, and I know, because I keep reaching out to her husband, so everybody I know is reaching out.
I called Blue myself.
Good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Have a good night, Commissioners.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Listen, so I'll see everybody on, June 2nd. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, good night now.
out.